Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dibler, of course.
Hello.
What's up? We see
that
Russell's
was some broadcast news shit, man.
Oh yeah, why? What happened?
Just everything. I'm just trying to get everything done. It was a lot. It was a lot going on before the show. Making coffee. I was trying to clear the dishes because I just cooked right before the show, and I was trying to fill my water bottle. That was the thing I was not able to do.
Oh wow!
But now I can.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See, so Russ has his Vosh lighting now. You see, this is like the lighting that a lot of the podcasters have. They have some like somewhat effeminate background lighting. That's apparently in. I don't know why, but it is. So I'm the odd man out now. I don't have that yet. I need some magenta lighting.
He's working on it.
Yeah, I need some magenta lighting and some square glasses. I mean, my glasses are kind of square. But yeah, I'm working on it. I face some of my books outward. That's been the extent to which I've worked on my set.
And then we did a little thing with Jose, and his shit started falling off the
shelves. My
shelves.
picture frame fell off. I don't even know where the hell that went. I was going to put that up. See, I had that up here, but the problem is it's got glass, and the ring light reflects in it, and it's very distracting. And this book cover, this is the collected plays of Herb Gardner, including I'm Not Rappaport, which is a great leftist play. It's a great communist play. But see how that's no good either, because it's a glossy cover. You see how the light bounces off it? That's no good. That's distracting. Right. So that's out. See, so there's more trial and error than you might think.
Well, yeah. It's but once you don't have a front bounce light coming, once you don't have a big light coming from the front, because now I've got a much more subtle light, so it doesn't hit those that way anymore.
There you go. That's an idea. All right, so maybe I'll be able to face that forward once I get my bounce cards and everything set up. But hey, I got a great crowd in here to start the show. We got 795.
Lighting that attracts both sexes. We think we're going to get our gender balance up this way.
Yeah. We should be able to crack 20% female demographic this month. That's our goal. It's our goal for the year 2025.
And it all starts with the lighting. It all starts with the lighting, baby.
That's right. We got 810 strong in the Rumble chat, 727 strong on YouTube. Great crowd to start the show. Smash that like button, everybody. Let's get a crowd in here. Smash that subscribe button, and let's share this stream. Let's tweet this out. Let's post it on Facebook, whatever you got to do. Let's let everybody know where we're at. All right, why don't we get started? A lot to do tonight. Of course, we have the Q&A coming up after the show, and we will be hosting the Jimmy Dore Show this week. So this is one of 6 shows in a row: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yes. Yep. So full calendar this week.
Beginning of the marathon.
So some of you who have been super chatting us about this and on us about this will be pleased to know we do have Whitney Webb joining us on the Jimmy Dore Show tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that will be great. That'll be great. We're looking very much forward to that. And then we got some other fun stuff planned for the week. So it should be an exciting time here at the Do Dissidents podcast and over on the Jimmy Dore channel.
We're going to ask our... Okay, all right. So hypothetically, Kamala Harris Donald Trump in a pool of alligators. Who do you jump in and rescue?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Question number 1. Sneak preview of tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we jump in?
Let's get one for free.
Yeah. There you go. Let's get started. Segment number 1. It's yours.
All right. Well, speaking of the Donald, they have wasted no time. Oh, whoops.
Wrong slideshow.
Wrong slideshow. Hang on. See, you loaded in your stuff. Where's my? So where's
Yeah,
my
yours
stuff?
is down here.
Oh, but it still comes in as you? Still says you?
I don't know.
Oh. Okay. All right. Got it. All right. Sorry, folks. We're going to start again. So everybody, we know the corporations are sociopathic. There was a great documentary and a book. A lot of you probably saw it called The Corporation that psychoanalyzed corporations as psychopaths. They're psychopaths. Anyone who understands corporate logic, who saw them all beating their breasts about January 6th, found that very disingenuous, and here we are. The big companies funding Trump's inauguration, despite denouncing January 6th, like they gave a shit about January 6th. 4 years ago, dozens of companies denounced the invasion of the U.S. Capitol and pledged to withhold support from those who disputed the 2020 election results. Now, many of those companies are lining up to fund Donald Trump's inauguration. The Wall Street Journal has identified at least 11 companies and trade associations that are backing the inauguration, which is on track to be the most lucrative ever, after earlier pledging to suspend or reconsider political action committee donations after January 6th. So I'm going to be down there covering the inauguration. We did donate $50 because for that, they give you a bottle to piss in. And it's going to be a long day.
Yeah. Help pay off some of the campaign debts.
Yeah, you gotta go full Amazon for that. Ford, Intuit, Toyota, and the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America are each giving $1 million. Other major donors that made January 6th related pledges include Goldman Sachs. Too funny. General Motors, Bank of America, AT&T, and Stanley Black & Decker. For Goldman, Intuit, Toyota, and Pharma, that's a company, not the industry, this marks the first time in at least a decade that they are supporting an inauguration fund. After Trump supporters invaded the Capitol in 2021 to protest the results of the presidential election, dozens of companies vowed to rethink their political contributions going forward. Some paused all donations. Others suspended donations to any lawmaker who voted against certifying the 2020 Electoral College results. Some simply promised to factor integrity into their donation decisions going forward.
Surrendered to the communists.
They have. They're full surrender. Now, as corporate executives hurry to make inroads with an incoming president whose agenda will have sweeping ramifications for the business world, many of those pledges are a thing of the past. See, a lot of big money interests prefer to have somebody who's just unabashedly corrupt like Trump, because at least you know what you're dealing with, right? I mean, he's clearly he went up on stage, and I think, look, I hear they cut a segment of that where he gave that speech in front of the Israeli flags. I hear he literally, at the end, the finale, he literally dropped his pants and shoved a figurine of Sheldon Adelson up his own ass. So they know that this man can be bought. And, that's easier to deal with than people who have to pretend to have some kind of integrity. H-1B visas, I love them. I eat them for breakfast. I've always loved H-1B visas.
No, what's obvious from this story is that one of corporate America's biggest reservations about Trump all along is that they just weren't sure the public would really go for him, Right? He's just too extreme. He's too vulgar. He's too mask off. He's too mean. He's too nasty. He's too divisive. He'll sow too much unrest. There will be too much social chaos. That's not really good for business.
He makes what we're doing too obvious.
Well, also, especially in 2016, he didn't win the popular vote. They were Russiagating him. There was fear that there was going to be social unrest, which is never good for business. But now that he won the popular vote, they're like, all right, I mean, if it works for you guys, it works for us. It's fine by us.
That's it.
What the hell do we care? He's better for us.
That's it. Won the popular vote. Fine.
That's it. All right. Fine. You guys want the fascism? We'll do the fascism. Fine. Hey, fine. What doesn't matter?
I don't know what we're gonna do with this warehouse full of tuck bathing suits. Right. But okay, fine. We'll go with it. Most of the companies didn't comment on the reason for their donation, though some noted that they had given to inaugurations for decades, regardless of party. Toyota pointed to a 2022 statement in which it said it was resuming PAC donations, but wouldn't support those who incite violence. Well, then you can't really support any American president, can you? A pharma spokesperson said the company had announced a pause on our giving at the time and then subsequently added new criteria to guide our contributions. Corporate executives have been flocking to Mar-a-Lago, Trump's Florida resort, in the weeks since the election to meet the president-elect and his team, in the hopes that building a relationship could make the incoming administration friendlier to their causes. God, I wish you guys had been here when Jeffrey was alive. The entertainment, it was off the hook. You missed it. He said, yeah, I hear he didn't kill himself, but we don't talk about that in front of the guests. Trump has met with the CEOs of Meta Platforms, Amazon, Google, Pfizer, Eli Lilly, and others in recent weeks. Inauguration officials have told fundraisers that they are on track to raise more than the $107 million they brought in for Trump's first inauguration. President Biden's inauguration, in contrast, raised $61 million. See, they like this guy. They love him. They love him. This is not a defeat for them. This is actually very good for them, and they know it. Trump's 2017 inaugural fund received donations of $1 million or more from 18 companies, and this year's fund is on track to outpace that, people familiar with the fundraising said. The Journal has identified 13 companies that gave $1 million or more so far. Donors who give $1 million or raise $2 million from others receive 6 tickets to a series of events in the days leading up to the inauguration, including a reception with cabinet appointees. Hey, isn't that Crazy Eyes over there? That's the crazy bastard who wrote the children's book. Come on over here, you crazy bastard. A candlelight dinner with Trump and Melania Trump, and a black tie ball. Trump aides have said that the fundraising isn't even really about drawing in money anymore. It is a means for extracting a mea culpa from corporate America for its shunning of Trump. One Trump aide rolled his eyes about tech billionaires, quote, making a pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago and cutting $1 million checks for the inauguration, as if that would patch up prior offenses. You know, I'm betting it will. Especially as your interests do not conflict with ours. I wish you all the best in your business. Consultants have been advising companies that it is in their interests to support the inauguration and secure a meeting with Trump. Quote, the old saying is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, said Kevin Madden, a longtime Republican strategist who said he advises his corporate clients to be proactive in getting involved in policy discussions. There's going to be a lot of work being done in 2025 and 2026, and the process starts now. The president-elect appears to be reveling in the outreach. Everybody wants to be my friend, he posted on Truth Social last week. Some Republican strategists have also been instructing companies to scrub their websites and corporate policies of language that favors Democrats, including pledges they made to pause donations after January 6th. Some companies' news releases in the wake of the invasion of the Capitol are no longer online, including a letter from then Stanley Black & Decker CEO Jim Lorre condemning the invasion of the Capitol and vowing to, quote, use our voice to advocate for our democracy and a peaceful transition of power. God, this is just the latest blow for the liberal class.
Well, I remember that.
They thought they were their friends. They thought the good. You remember how the libs were sharing around all of these op-eds from CEOs and CIA operatives as if they were their buddies? In the end, we're all in this together as Americans.
No, I remember. I remember when corporate America really tried to convince the country that they gave a damn about the events of January 6th. At the time, we had our little audio show at the time. But at the time, I was actually, because the pandemic kind of devastated both my wife and I's main gigs.
We used to sing Tony Bennett standards.
Yeah, exactly. I was writing for Screen Rant. I was actually writing list articles for Screen Rant, and they had.
How long did you last at that job? Like a month?
No, I did like 6 months. I did a decent amount.
You were doing it that long?
Yeah. No, I forget why I stopped. I stopped because they changed the pay incentives to the point where it wouldn't be worth it anymore. But yeah, so I was writing these list movie articles, and there's like a table with all your deadlines. So you pitch an article, and then they approve it, and they say, okay, you have it done by this day, this day, this day, and they're list articles, so you got to bang them out real quick. So I was writing like 20 or 30 a week, and we get an email after January 6th, like, if any of you guys need time to reflect and heal and you miss a deadline, it's okay. Just let reflect and heal. What the fuck are you talking about? Reflect and heal. I'm writing the top 10 opening scenes of Clint Eastwood movies. What the hell I need time to reflect and heal? So I have to gather my thoughts for this. But no, everybody was like, corporate America was really upset. Or so they wanted us to believe.
So they wanted you to believe. That's what it all comes down to. And this is part of why the amounts are so much larger than they were for Biden. Because in the end, this is what they prefer. This is what they wanted. Hang on. We can get rid of these DEI departments and stop pretending to give a shit about diversity and the part. We don't have to go through this performative kabuki of moral rectitude. We don't have to do that anymore.
We'd rather not do it. I mean, we only do it because we think the public wants it, and we think it makes us look nice. If they don't want us to be nice, we won't be nice. It's cheaper not to be nice.
Well, they think the people in power want them to do it.
Well, now these
people they're just going to give us a free hand.
Right.
We can do whatever we want, and we don't have to pretend not to be psychopaths.
Well, and that's a reflection.
We don't have
to
put on
sentiment.
that act anymore.
That's a reflection of public sentiment because Trump won the popular vote. So they're like, all right. I mean, if America doesn't want it, we won't do it. It's cheaper not to do it. It's cheaper not to do the DEI programs.
Stanley Black & Decker said it is donating $1 million, a major increase from the $25,000 it gave to Trump's first inauguration. The cryptocurrency trading platform Kraken donated $1 million, a spokeswoman said. I'm going to be very interested to get into that with Whitney Webb tomorrow because she speaks about this a lot. Like the idea that cryptocurrency is a tool of freedom rather than a tool by which they're going to enslave you by getting everyone on digital currency is a fallacy. This is one, there's no hypocrisy there. I mean, sure, cryptocurrency trading platform, of course you'd want to back Trump. Kraken chairman Jesse Powell and CEO Arjun Sethi met with Trump throughout the campaign and have met with him since the election. Among the priorities they discussed, ending regulations by enforcement and ending the refusal by some banks to take crypto companies and their founders. Cryptocurrency exchange platform Coinbase, whose CEO met with Trump last month, donated $1 million to the inauguration. Kara Calvert, Coinbase's vice president for U.S. policy, said the company committed to backing Trump's transition and inauguration before the election, and said the company is eager to work with the most pro-crypto administration in U.S. history. Intuit, the tax software maker, is donating $1 million to the fund after not backing either of the last two inaugurations. Shortly after Trump's election, the company's shares declined on a report that the Elon Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency was considering making a free tax filing app. While the company, don't those exist? I thought those exist. I have a lady do it for me, and I don't trust myself, so I've never even looked into it. While the company's CEO has said he doesn't think the Trump administration would invest resources into such a project, he has said he is personally engaging with the new administration and eager to partner on areas like a simplified tax code. Intuit said that it's, quote, expanded participation in the democratic process. And by that, we mean you buy politicians by donating to the inauguration.
Right.
Reflects its growth as a company and the policy issues that affect its consumers, and said it has had a decades-long commitment to bipartisan advocacy. So we talk a lot about how we have an oligarchy. I talk a lot about how really in many ways it does resemble a feudal aristocracy. This is very much the new king is coronated and the nobles come in from the provinces with their gifts in order to curry favor with the new leadership. Where is democracy? What, these guys are giving $1 million because they just want to make sure the food's good at the inauguration? That's why. Obviously, this is out in the open tribute. They're paying tribute to the new ruler who's going to have enormous influence over their interests. There's no democracy here. What democracy?
Well, it's also just really mask off because it's the markets in corporate America reacted the opposite way when Trump won in 2016, because there were all kinds of fears as to how competent he would be as an executive,
saw it as an aberration also.
Manager. Right. They also did not know if he would be able to do the job, preside over the structures of the federal government. He was a showman until then. He was a complete wild card. Now there's one term under his belt. He won the popular vote. He passed tax cuts for the rich and corporations last time. They prefer a guy like Trump in there. That's why this time they reacted the complete opposite, because all those reservations were gone. That uncertainty, there is less uncertainty now, much less uncertainty now than there was when he won back in 2016. In 2016, one of the sure signs that he was going to win on election night was that the futures tanked. And the opposite happened this time. On election night, around 10 o'clock at night, when it became obvious he was going to win, what happened? Market signs started going way up. And so it is, not only is it, as you said, just out in the open oligarchy and bribery, it's mask off, because they're showing you now what they really feel about a guy like Trump in the White House without any of those caveats. There were a lot of caveats last time. There were a lot of uncertainties last time. Markets don't like uncertainties. And so that explains that. Now, with fewer uncertainties and a pro-corporate president incoming, it's party time. They love it. They love it. They're happy as could be. They don't care about January 6th, nothing. That was all nonsense.
Yeah, also last time they saw Trump as a glitch in the Matrix, and they still felt like their bread is buttered with the Lincoln Project people and the establishment Democrats. They still thought ultimately they're going to be the power we have to negotiate with long term. Trump will be out in a few years. The world's going in the direction of this faction. That's who we need to curry favor with. If we throw in our lot with them now, that's going to be rewarded later.
Right.
This is very different now, and this is part of why I say, and hey, I think Trump is going to fuck the country very badly. Do I think that the benefits will accrue to the Democrats? I'm very skeptical of that, because it is hard to imagine what the Democrats could say to these people once they get a taste of what Trump and his cronies are going to do for them, that are going to make them want to bring the Democrats back from the dead. Why would they? And the Democrats have absolutely no concept of what kind of message they would need to put together to actually get back in the game. They are just doubling down on being the gayer Republicans, as we'll see in your segment about the medals and the influencers coming to the White House. So I don't see them coming back. I really don't. Like, as bad as the Trump administration might be, I think people will sooner wind up empowering Republicans in an internecine fight in the party between more MAGA populists and Silicon Valley people. Like, I don't see the Democrats being where they turn after this.
Well, at this point, it is hard to imagine how they can put together a comeback. You know, stranger things have happened in political history, but at this point, it doesn't look good, which I think also explains why you're seeing an influx of corporate money into Trump world, because they're just less confident that any alternative will arise. So that gives them even more reason to put whatever reservations they have aside. Well, it looks like this is the only game in town for the time being. And so you got to bet on a winner.
They like this game better.
Right. Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, once they go all in with this and it's entrenched, why would they go back to the Democrats?
Exactly. All right. We got Jake in the booth tonight. Big round of applause for Jake. Thanks for being here. Got a great crowd filing in here. Smash that like button. Let's get an even bigger crowd in here tonight. NGJO &&. Thanks for the $4.99 over on YouTube. Can you guys react to Dear Elon by the Ghost of Kiev, Sam Hyde? You know, I've seen that video circulating around. I have not watched it. So I'll see if I have time to take a look at it. It is quite long. But I have not watched it. I know what you're talking about. I probably bookmarked it, but I'll have to take a closer look. Thank you, though. Salamander Fry, thanks for the $10. Hey, you guys are all right. You're all right, too, Salamander Fry. Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $4.99. Appreciate that. Joshua Sean became a YouTube member. Thanks, Joshua Sean. Appreciate that very, very much. Amadeus says, sorry, been going a while. Kidney stones. Love you. Oh man, that's brutal. Well, good. I hope those are coming out all right, as they say. That's painful stuff there, Amadeus. But thank you. Hopefully you're doing all right there. Tortoise Toad 1, thanks for the $5. However you choose to observe it, Merry Q Shaman Raskin Insurrection Eve to all. Has anybody ever decorated their lecterns and left a present, shall we say, on the speaker's desk? Not I. Not I. We are proud Americans here, and I'm proud to be an American. Or at least I know
I'm free.
And H-1B paid $9 an hour to put me in poverty. Thank you. Thank you very much. Not so glad to stand up next to them, but Elon is my God. If it turns out that I starve to death, it's because I ain't work hard. There you go. Beautiful. Beautiful, Tortoise Toad. Thank you for that. Very creative. Eric Rousseau, which is your favorite U.S. empire tool, false flags or psychological operations? Well, I mean,
I'd have to say psyops, because they're so textured. You have to admire the craftsmanship. It's like a good quilt.
Yeah. And a lot of them don't actually like physically hurt people too. You know, the false flags, people get hurt. So the psyops are safer and more effective, as we say. Just use self-checkout at Target. Notice that all the stationary barcode scanners are aimed exactly at the crotch level of the average height men, which is definitely just a coincidence. Well, you know who's going to look into that is RFK. Definitely look into that.
I'm glad to be short.
Yeah.
They miss my nuts every time.
Yeah, they missed them. That's right. Just took a massive Netanyahu, or was it a Biden? Potato. Thank you, R. Dean W. Appreciate that very much. All right, we will move on. Russell's got another story here. Okay, so this is another oligarch in the news for kind of a funny reason.
Yes, Lex Luthor, known in our reality as Jeff Bezos. This is Earth number 513.
Right.
Has just really pissed off people by first not endorsing Kamala Harris when his whole business is built around liberal outrage. And now he's getting a lot of backlash. We can assume he didn't personally strike this cartoon, although you never know. Cartoon of Jeff Bezos that his paper axed goes viral. So let's take a look at this cartoon here. So you have Jeff Bezos there offering money to the idol of Trump. also portrayed as, obviously this is a rough sketch. She never really finished it because they rejected it. Mark Zuckerberg. And the other one, I forget his name, Patrick. I don't know how you say his last name. He's the owner of the LA Times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
One.
Well, what about Mickey Mouse? What's Mickey Mouse doing there?
Well, because ABC agreed to give $15 million. ABC is a subsidiary.
Oh, so he's bowing at his feet.
He's bowing at his feet.
I thought he was homeless. I thought he was sleeping under the monument.
Well, at the rate Disney is going.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the open source AI, I think. But the article gets into it. A Pulitzer-winning editorial cartoonist revealed that she quit her job at the Washington Post after management axed her drawing of billionaires, including Jeff Bezos, the paper's owner, bending the knee to Donald Trump. Last month, Bezos, the immensely wealthy founder of Amazon, dined at Mar-a-Lago and his company donated $1 million to Trump's upcoming inauguration. Another one. But ahead of the election, Bezos drew fire after the Post management shut down the editorial board's plan to endorse Kamala Harris. In a post on her Substack, Ann Talnias said that she drew a cartoon that criticized corporate types, that's it, Sam Altman, including Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, and Patrick Soon-Shiong, in addition to Bezos, for their efforts to curry favor with the president-elect. Like Amazon, tech giants Apple and Facebook also ponied up $1 million for Trump's inauguration, reported Axios. However, for the first time in her career, Telnius said the paper killed the cartoon because of whom it targeted. That is not entirely true. Apparently, they killed a cartoon that she drew once that portrayed Ted Cruz's children as monkeys. But obviously, this is a very different situation.
Right.
In a post on her Substack, Ann Talnias said that she wrote, "I have had editorial feedback and productive conversations and some differences about cartoons I have submitted for publication. But in all that time, I've never had a cartoon killed because of who or what I chose to aim my pen at until now." According to Telnius, the decision represented a failure of the newspaper's obligation to nurture a free press and a democracy. Owners of such press organizations are responsible for safeguarding that free press, and trying to get in the good graces of an autocrat in waiting will only result in undermining that free press, she added. Now, all of that is all well and good. But where was she when they were sending the IRS to Matt Taibbi's house? So here's the problem with all these libs. All of a sudden, they want to fight for democratic institutions when it's the other guys. When it's the other guys in power, all of a sudden they remember freedom of the press. They don't have these kinds of issues when the censorship is coming from their own, as we'll see from some of the people who tweeted out that image. In a statement to the New York Times, the Post's opinions editor, David Shipley, said that he respects Telnius, but must disagree with her interpretation of event. Not every editorial judgment is a reflection of a malign force, he said. No, not everyone, but one where the owner of the paper is being satirized. Getting spiked certainly seems like it would qualify.
You know, they have a super high standard for cartoons. What are they, the Metropolitan Museum of Art of Cartoons? Oh, no, this is just not up to snuff.
Yeah, no, this excuse is hilarious. My decision was guided by the fact that we had just published a column on the same topic as the cartoon and had already scheduled another column, this one a satire, for publication. The only bias was against repetition. Yes, because newspapers never publish a cartoon on the same subject as printed material in the newspaper. They never do that. They never do that. In fact, if anything, they will tend to do that.
Well, of course, it makes sense to do that. This way, people are more likely to get the joke of the cartoon.
Right. So, yeah, that is one of the most glaring bullshit excuses I think I've ever seen. That's not even a good excuse. Nevertheless, Telnius's story and the cartoon itself a draft of which showed the businessmen kneeling as they raised bags of money up to a large figure above them, went viral on social media, sparking a wave of criticism against Bezos and his newspaper. The situation is just the latest crisis over the paper's independence from its owner. Bezos's blocking of the paper's Harris endorsement in October prompted 2 columnists to leave, 2 editorial board members to resign, and more than 200,000 readers to cancel their subscriptions. However, last I heard it's 250,000 have canceled. However, the billionaire defended the decision despite the uproar. You remember all those libs proudly posting after the 2016 election about how they had just subscribed to the Washington Post?
Yeah.
It was like their act of resistance, lib rebellion.
Yep. Well, this is karma. This is comeuppance. Yeah, because now that Trump is the hegemon, as we covered in our last segment, all the corporate ownership class is kowtowing to him, which includes Jeff Bezos, and apparently doesn't have a sense of humor about it in his own paper. Like, it's so stupid to do this on the Washington Post part. You should go out of your way to, on occasion, take a mocking shot at Jeff Bezos, because that gives the illusion of an autonomous and free press.
That's the smart way to go. Yes.
The smart way to go is let them get a joke in against you every once in a while, so it looks like you're not controlling them. Don't forget, this is the Washington Post. This is not like the Dallas Morning Star, whatever. It's not like some paper in the country. This is one of the 2 papers of records, the Times and the Post. Those are the gold standards according to mainstream media. So you want to create at least some illusion of autonomy. When you spike a cartoon for making fun of the owner of the paper, especially when the owner of the paper is the second richest man in the world, who's been very publicly courting Trump these past couple weeks, it just stinks. It's so stupid to do this.
And also, if you're gonna lie, go with the nut defense. Say, we were going to publish it, but she resigned before we were able to sit down and have a conversation. We were only holding it until the following week, but she resigned before we had the say that, and she'll deny it, and then you muddied up the waters.
We just didn't
like if you're gonna lie well.
Say it was an artistic thing. We just had some notes. We wanted Mickey. We wanted to see Mickey's face. That was the issue.
Presidential given events with Diddy, we did not want to see the posterior of Mickey Mouse.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election. No undecided voters in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsement, he, meaning Bezos, wrote in a late October op-ed in the Post. None. What presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. Frankly, I don't really disagree with that. The paper shouldn't do endorsements. I don't really disagree with that in principle, that it creates an impression of bias. And usually it just breaks down by the editorial bent of that newspaper. What, you're going to see the New York Post all of a sudden endorse a Democrat?
Yeah, so you usually see it coming.
Sure. So it does show. I mean, what you can't see coming is the New York Times' absolute idiocy of doing things like picking Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
Like, you can't see that coming. But you knew they weren't going to endorse Trump. Right. So I don't disagree with that. But that's clearly not. Oh, all of a sudden he decided now in this election when the trends were going in a very clear way towards Trump to cancel an endorsement that was already planned. If you want to do that, start in the next election cycle. Announce it way out ahead where there's no personal interest involved. We're not doing this anymore.
Right.
Okay, so this is the thing. A lot of the right wing and the MAGA people, they're very confused. They're finding out that the billionaires don't like them either. But they haven't really found their voice on that. Hopefully they will eventually. So a story about a cartoon of Jeff Bezos on bended knee to Donald Trump. The MAGA people are not going to be the ones to pick that up. So they kind of left it on the field for the libs to run with. So Elizabeth Warren. Ann Telnaeus resigned after the Washington Post editorial page killed her cartoon. It's worth a share. Big tech executives are bending the knee to Donald Trump, and it's no surprise why. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos like paying a lower tax rate than a public school teacher. Now, Liz, I agree with you. I fully agree with you. But aren't you a member of the party that literally put a billionaire on stage at the DNC to brag about being a real billionaire as opposed to Donald Trump? Doesn't seem like you.
That's the governor of Illinois. Pritzker.
Yeah. Did you speak out about that? Did you say this is disgusting? This is grotesque? I'm embarrassed of my party? No. These people, just like Bernie, all of a sudden I haven't heard shit about Medicare for All for 4 years. All of a sudden he wants to talk about Medicare for All again. I guess nobody needed health care these last 4 years.
Right.
All of a sudden we need it again. The medical bankruptcy stopped for the last 4 years. Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Good morning and happy Sunday to everyone who agrees that editorial cartoonist Ann Telnaeus is a hero for resigning from the Washington Post when they refused to publish this spot-on accurate cartoon. Democracy dies in cowardice, Jeff Bezos. Make sure everyone sees this. Yeah, no, you know what would have made her a hero for me? If she had resigned in the middle of COVID over the fact that they made Bill Gates an unelected healthcare czar. That would make her a hero. This doesn't make her a hero. She'll be fine with the libs and the Lincoln Project people. Charlie Sykes, to fully absorb the profound, he makes your point, to fully absorb the profound stupidity of WaPo's decision, consider the alternative timeline. If the WaPo had published Telnaeus' cartoon, the paper would have reasserted a modicum of independence and integrity, and even Bezos would have benefited. He gives them more benefit of the doubt than we do, but same basic point. Instead of looking like a thin-skinned, craven autocrat, he would have looked like someone big enough to tolerate criticism. Instead, he told us again who he really is. So really, if you take what you said and what he's saying is he's gullible enough for what you said he should have done to have worked on him.
Right. Yeah.
See, if Bezos had done that, I would have bought it.
Right.
Protect Kamala Harris. It's amazing they haven't changed the name of this account. This is Ann Telnaeus. That's going to be a full-time job. Ann Telnaeus, a longtime political cartoonist for the Washington Post. She resigned yesterday after owner Jeff Bezos blocked her cartoon, critical of billionaires for bowing down to Donald Trump. See, here's the thing with people. They don't have a criticism of billionaires for existing. That doesn't occur to them. It's fine if they're their billionaires. Retweet if you stand with Ann Telnaeus against Jeff Bezos. Now with the 5.8K, I'm sorry, the thirst trap isn't quite working out for this account. They're not doing very well. Even the libs do not want to follow an account called Protect Kamala Harris anymore.
Yeah.
So there you go. You know, the libs, they're not wrong. They're just hypocritical. And as I said, you know, MAGA will not pick up this story because it's too confusing for them. They have no idea how to address a story like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fairly obvious. Like, it's fairly obvious. Like he said there, it just is such a shot in your own foot to do this. Who cares? Who cares that one of your cartoonists is taking a pot shot? Oh, he's groveling to Trump. Everybody knows he's groveling to Trump. The people who are still reading the watch, like, what, somebody's going to unsubscribe over a cartoon? How many people are even going to read this cartoon? Like, it's not like you have an op-ed blasting the guy. And even if you did, you should print it.
And even if you did, print it.
You got to print it. Like, you can't look like you're protecting the owner of the paper when it's a paper of this stature, right? Yeah, you know, I mean, it is considered to be one of the two real papers of record for the entire country. And it's owned by the second richest man in the world. So to kill a cartoon that very playfully makes fun of what everybody already knows, which is that Bezos is sucking up to Trump right now. Yeah, it's just a bad look. Now, what he said, well, this makes Bezos look thin-skinned. It makes him look thin-skinned kind of secondhand because, as you said at the top of the segment, I would highly doubt that Jeff Bezos was involved in this decision at all. But it does show that people at the post are afraid that he'll react badly if he sees it there, which does not look good. It does not look good.
From articles that I've read with Bezos, he doesn't feel like he has to get involved with editorial because that's not what he bought the paper for. He bought the paper for access.
Right.
It gives him access to Washington figures because he's the owner of the Washington Post.
Exactly, which is all the more reason just to print it.
Exactly.
Big deal.
Just leave it alone.
Just do it. Just leave it alone. Exactly. But they did not. They meddled. They meddled. Me shoot skeet. Thanks for the $10. This is what voting for the lesser of two evils gets you. What's the definition of insanity? Something about doing the same thing and expecting a different result or some shit. Absolutely. Yes. 100%. Amadeus says, I also apologize for dropping membership. No worries, Amadeus. But once I have my ducks in a row, driving is my last barrier to getting into my field. I will join Sparky and Landrew in making it rain. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. No rush. No worries. Joshua Sean, thanks for the $5, says, longtime viewer. I just joined for perks. First time super chatter. Well, thank you, Joshua. Looking forward to the celeb boycott. George Clooney and Julia Roberts should be the first. There's an idea. George Clooney's feeling especially kind of vulnerable these days. The only thing about Clooney is he's not really on social media, so you can't really do a social media boy. It's got to be someone
not on
who's
social media.
I don't think so. It's got to be somebody who's like really. I mean, I like the idea of Clooney, but it's got to be somebody who's like really on social media a lot. Ideally, they're the most accessible at the onset. But I'm glad you like the idea. By the way, if Eric is, I want Eric to call tonight, and I want to see what he thinks of that idea, because Eric is always pitching us ideas for how to better the world, and I want to see what he thinks of ours. Amadeus, Trumpnomics will be nuclear, but de-dollarization will be a supernova. Thank you for that very much. What do we got over here? Kevin G says, I don't care that all these clowns got medals from Biden. Awards are like hemorrhoids. Every a-hole gets one. Thank you, Kevin G. Appreciate that. Furrows Queen says, so funny. Russell, I had such a rush before the show. I had to fill my water bottle and do my dishes. Keaton with 3 kids, dogs, cats, a wife, and complete chaos. Oh, yeah? Yeah, you cracked the code there. Yeah, you cracked the code. Like, oh, yeah, you had a lot to do before the show? That's interesting. It's interesting. Tell me. Yes, on the evening shows, I got to run out and walk the dog before the show because she has to go, and because the evening shows run a little long with the Q&A. So that's always my pre-show ritual.
Well, see, there's the thing. Like, yes, you're right, First Queen. The shit that Keaton has to do, he really has to do. So let me reframe it. I tried to do things that I could have put off.
Right.
And it didn't work out.
Right. Exactly. There you go. Latest from Mondo Weiss, Israeli lawmakers demand military destroy all food and energy resources in Gaza. They're ramping it up. I did not see that from Mondo Weiss, but we are covering. We have a couple of pretty dire Gaza segments that we're going to do later on. Thank you for that, John. How much does democracy go for these days? Personally, seems like I will never be able to afford it. Amen, Eric Huso. If someone wanted to buy some democracy, will they take a check from someone with bad credit asking for a friend? Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Ahmed says, idea, Russ, you have many fans in the D.C. area, e.g. me. Gather them and meet with them while we're here. Happy New Year to both of you. You guys are the best. Well, come out to the inauguration. You'll see him.
Yeah, I'm going to the inauguration.
Join the party.
You guys can, fend off the people trying to hang me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
He could be my bodyguards.
Exactly. Alrighty. Let's move on here. We got plenty more super chats and Rumble rants, which we will get to. We got a great crowd here filing in. Oh, look at that. Just hit 2,000 even in the Rumble chat. I mean, YouTube chat. There we go. Smash that like button. We're at 591. We should be at 666 by the end of this segment if you all heed my advice and smash that like button over on YouTube. Smash that like button over on Rumble, too. We're at 156. Let's get that number up there, please, and thank you so much. All right, folks. So these are the final days of the Joe Biden administration, and the Medal of Freedom ceremony was this past week. And so we are going to do a segment on the sort of general list of recipients. But I did think that this one in particular was worthy of its own short piece here. Chef Jose Andres gets emotional when he is awarded with the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Biden for his work with World Central Kitchen. Remember that story in early April of last year where the World Central Kitchen cars were fired upon by the IDF and World Central Kitchen workers were killed? That was the first and only time, actually, that the mainstream media got up in arms about Israel's conduct in the war. When white people were killed. No disrespect to them, obviously.
No disrespect.
They're heroes, but
courageous people.
Very courageous
critique
people.
Of the media, not them.
Exactly. So it's no disrespect to them, but it is a reflection of whose lives matter more to the Western media. But Jose Andres given this medal by Joe Biden. Here's this video here.
Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to Jose Andres. From his parents' kitchen in Spain, Jose Andres arrived in America with little money and big dreams. Over the course of 3 decades, he mastered his culinary craft with renowned restaurants that span culture and cuisine and bring people together. His World Central Kitchen revolutionized humanitarian assistance by mobilizing fellow chefs and providing meals to people left in the wake of natural disasters and war. With his unmatched personality and heart, Jose Andres shows us that there is a seat for everyone at the table.
And you talk about cognitive dissonance to applaud this guy as if he's a hero while you have spent the year funding the country that killed his workers. And of course,
sorry about killing your stuff.
Yeah, right. This, exactly.
Hope this makes up for it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Just unbelievable. So here it is, back from April 3rd of last year. Just a reminder, World Central Kitchen founder Jose Andres says Israel targeted staff in Gaza car by car. So not only did Israel kill his workers, he insists they were deliberately targeted. So the BBC writes, Monday's strike, which killed 7 members of his staff, was not a mistake, he said, repeating that Israeli forces had been told of their movements. WCK workers from Australia, Canada, Poland, and the UK and the US were killed, as well as their Palestinian colleague. Israel says the strike was a grave mistake and has apologized. It has also promised an independent investigation. Well, I'm glad we are going back and reading this article from, check notes 9 months ago. Where is this independent investigation that they said they were going to do? Remember all the times we heard Morlock say from the podium in the State Department press room, "Oh, it's horrible that this happened. We're in communication with our Israeli partners who are going to do their own independent investigation." And then there's never any follow-up. So here they said 9 months ago, we're going to do an independent investigation to see what exactly happened to these workers. We ever a follow-up from that? That's been almost a year ago now. 9 months ago. Nope, nothing. Zero follow-up. According to the charity, the aid convoy was hit while leaving the Deir al-Balah warehouse, where the team had unloaded more than 100 tons of humanitarian food aid brought to Gaza on the maritime route. The convoy was made up of 3 vehicles, including 2 that were armored, which clearly displayed the charity's logo. The logos were plastered onto the roofs of the cars specifically to avoid airstrikes from the IDF. They wanted not to just have the logos on the sides, but on the roofs, because the planes that are going to drone strike them are flying overhead. Right. And that did not help. As you can see, the image there, this is a pretty famous image. The hole went right through the logo on top of the car. The convoy was made up of 3 vehicles, including 2 that were armored, which clearly displayed the charity's logo. All 3 were hit during the strike. Speaking to Reuters news agency on Wednesday, the Spanish-American celebrity chef, speaking of Andres, of course, said this was not a bad luck situation where, oops, we dropped the bomb on the wrong people. So here's Jose Andres back in April insisting that this was a deliberate attack on his workers.
We were targeted deliberately, non-stop, until everybody was dead in this convoy. This happened over more than 1.5, 1.8 kilometers. So this was not use bad luck situation where, we dropped the bomb in the wrong place, or no, this was over 1.5, 1.8 kilometers with a very defined humanitarian convoy that had signs in the top, in the roof. That cannot be the role of an army. That cannot be the role of an army that has hundreds of drones above Gaza in any single moment. Humanitarians and civilians should never be paying the consequences of war. This is a basic principle of humanity. At the time, this looks like it's not a war against terrorism anymore. Seems this is a war against humanity itself.
That's 9 months ago. Now I know. Look, this guy's very pro-Ukraine. His politics are very establishment oriented. This is part of why the media ripped into Israel for a couple of days after this happened. There was a real sort of sea change in the media coverage. You had the Morning Joe panelist, I forget his name, I think Richard Haas, say that we have to start talking about sanctioning Israel after these workers were killed. That was 9 months ago, talking about how this is an assault on humanity. And like I said, I understand his politics are what they are, but given this horrific murder of your workers, given that you're on record saying you believe they were deliberately targeted, how do you go to the White House and let Joe Biden put a medal on your neck? How do you not tell him to go fuck himself? Why don't you give that medal to your son, who can go haggle with a Ukrainian hooker over crack and use that medal maybe as some kind of currency? Like, that's what I would tell him if I were him. Yeah. Like, I guess certain people, when you're used to swimming in elite circles, you just don't want to leave. You just don't want to extricate yourself from those elite circles, because if there's anyone at this ceremony who should have told Biden to go fuck himself, it's this guy, that soccer player Lionel Messi. He didn't show up and he didn't send a representative. Now, they're blaming that on a scheduling conflict. A lot of people are saying that's an FU to Joe Biden. Who knows? But if there's anybody who should say, fuck you, I'm not coming, shove it up your ass, it's this guy. But nope. Even after that, he comes there and poses with a medal and Joe Biden. It's kind of stunning.
Yeah, this is not the first time that Israel has clearly targeted people who are there on humanitarian missions or even allied military. Candace Owens put a lot of attention about a week or two ago. She had, the USS Liberty?
USS Liberty, yeah.
That Israel clearly attacked with full knowledge that it was an American ship. So they've made it a habit of this for a very long time. They act with absolute impunity and do whatever they want. Clearly, when was the last time you saw one of these Western aid agencies made up of Europeans go into Gaza? That was the point. They're trying to exterminate the Palestinians like rats. And anybody who is going to keep them alive, who's going to feed them, who's going to give them medical care, they're systematically killing those people and making sure that others will not come in to take their place in the process. That's what this is. Norman Finkelstein, he used the word demonic. It is. It's a demonic regime. It's just, the more you see of it, it's just hard to conceive that people will not only support this, but will double talk around what they're doing. It's so obvious what they're doing. They are, in broad daylight, committing a genocide, and we're funding it. And you got Count Morlock going up there with his, oh yeah, we're gonna investigate it. We stand for the rule of law. Even the press corps cracked up at that one.
Yep.
And now you have Trump coming in, and it's gonna be very interesting times. This is one thing I will say, the uncommitted people, they were taking the money in the ad that they made about Project 2025. But in terms of, will Trump really empower the Israelis to just wipe it off the map? Yeah, sure. where I take exception is what? That wouldn't have happened under Harris? I mean, they just would have sent Count Morlock up to keep talking about how bad we feel about it and how we want this investigated. Trump is just going to dispense with that part.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's they've wanted this for a long time.
Right. Exactly. That is basically the only difference that I see. We're going to get into the rest of this ceremony in just a moment here. Henrik Oland became a member on YouTube. Thank you for that, Henrik. Thank you very much. Imran Sher Rafiq, thanks for the $10. Says, after ISIS Moscow attack, they released a photo of attackers doing shahada with their left hand. Impossible for actual Muslims. Left versus right is part of Sunnah. Thank you, Imran. Appreciate that. Snork Y2K says, Bugs Bunny PSYOP pushing carrots was best PSYOP. Thank you for that. Marcella A, thanks for the $10. Female input. The bookshelf looks nice with the new light, but Russell's peach skin color is weird. Great show. All right, so you got to know.
Yeah.
So you just got to change your skin color for next time. That's the note.
I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, from what I've heard, you can be transsexual, but you can't be transracial. You get in a lot of trouble for that.
That's right. You will get in trouble for that. Yasim Miller is here. Can I get a cowbell for my birthday? Of course you can. Thank you, Yasim. Appreciate that very much. Just turned 60. Well, happy birthday. Keaton, were the books in the P.O. box? Yes, they were. And actually, I'm sorry I didn't bring them in to the office here. But they were, and thank you very much for them. I will have those in the office as part of the set on Tuesday, and I will show those off. But thank you very much. Yes, they were both there in the P.O. box. Appreciate that very much, Yasim. Contemplatively gave us a huge super chat. Big cowbell coming out for this one. $199.99. Wow, that is extremely generous. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. That's very, very kind. I'm Palestinian, all about Gaza, yet ecstatic that Assad fell. The West wants Muslims in the Middle East to remain under the boot, and the Assads serve that purpose well. Whatever you're mad at Israel for, the Assads did worse to Syrians who are basically the same people as the Palestinians. Well, thank you for that comment. We always appreciate hearing, from Palestinians and from people, who have all different opinions about that. Like I said, we got into this a little bit in the last show. Someone super chatted us about this. I don't doubt what you're saying. I'm in no position to doubt what you're saying. It just seems to me like the fall of Assad is a geopolitical win for Israel. So I would love to know your thoughts about that. You don't got to give us another $200 to tell us your thoughts about that, but I would love to hear your thoughts about that, because that's the extent to which I analyze it. Aaron Mate, we played a clip of Aaron Mate saying that, he has friends who were dissidents in Syria under the Assad regime who protested the government, but who felt that they were still better off under Assad than under whatever the next regime would look like. Like I said, I'm not in a position to judge that, obviously. That's something I've heard. From where we're sitting, it seems like a win for Israel that he's gone, so we analyzed it in that context. You have anything to add to that?
We had an email from somebody in the region. This might be the same person who got into how a lot of Western commentators miss the nuance in the Middle East. I've talked about this myself, that I do feel, not just in regards to Middle East in general, very often people in alternative left media, in the process of being in opposition to U.S. imperialism, go beyond, hey, it's their country, why are we messing around there, which we agree with, towards cheerleading for countries and governments that aren't necessarily praiseworthy, by way of you get so caught up in being in opposition that you wind up really propping up countries that you maybe should not be making excuses for. So this is not the first person from the Middle East who has basically said, yeah, Assad was messed up. We've had people say this about Iran, that people are very naively making excuses for what Iran is and how making assumptions about how actual Muslims living in that region feel about that government. And I think that's probably true. I think it's a danger of being in opposition to wrap your arms around anyone who you see as opposing the government that you're fighting against.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much once again for that very generous donation. Appreciate that. Jessica May, thanks for the $5, says Denzel Washington was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Yep, by Biden. That's coming up next. Denzel should have yelled out "Free Medicare for all." John Q. There you go. Thank you, Jessica May. Appreciate that.
John Q. Bitches.
John Q. Bitches. That's right. Salem's Lot is one of my all-time favorites, and David Soul's tense, understated performance was one of those rare moments where the actor cannot be separated from the role. R.I.P. Hutch. Thank you very much.
That's random. I saw that when I was a little kid, so I can't speak to how it would play now if I saw it now. I liked it then.
All righty. We're going to move on here. So now, folks, we are going to do a sort of more general overview of the Joe Biden Medal of Freedom ceremony at the White House today, meaning, of course, yesterday. President Biden awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to 19 great leaders who have made America a better place. Jose Andres, Bono, Ashton Baldwin Carter, sorry, small print, Hillary Rodham Clinton, obviously, Michael J. Fox, Jane Goodall, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ralph Lauren. There you could see some of the names on this list here. Denzel Washington, Anna Wintour, George Soros on the list, Robert Francis Kennedy, the senior RFK on the list. Interesting. Why don't we take a look at a montage, if you will, of award recipients featuring our signature stock music. Bill Nye. There's Anna Wintour. Denzel, of course. It's Michael J. Fox. Hey, hold still there. Hold still. Yeah, hold still. I know you got Parkinson's. So do I. I don't shake around like that. So here's Alex Soros, George Soros' son, accepting on his behalf. Magic Johnson, obviously. There's Mitt Romney accepting for George Romney, his father. So he was accepting it for his father, and then there's Bono.
Oh, I see.
All right, so as you can see there, folks, I mean, it's not very subtle. It's not very subtle. This was essentially a swan song to the old guard, to the beloved establishment figures in finance, politics, sports, the arts, right? This was like the in memoriam part of the Academy Awards, only everybody is still alive. For the most part, not everybody, but most of them are still alive, right? You have this old, increasingly irrelevant cultural, political, economic, social elite that is giving themselves one final pat on the back. And even the New York Times picked up on this. Biden awards 18 medals of freedom and delivers one unmistakable message with a recipient list stocked with old guard icons and political backers. The president signaled support for the establishment his successor wants to tear down. Yes, absolutely. That was unmistakable. So unmistakable, even the New York Times picked it up.
Even they didn't mistake it.
Even they didn't mistake it. Even they had the self-awareness to recognize what that was. You know, most years you would have the New York Times totally unaware that they're not in on the joke, right? But this time they even noticed this. With 16 days left in a political career that spanned half a century, President Biden on Saturday conferred one of the nation's highest honors on core members of the political, financial, and celebrity establishment of which he has long been a part. he hasn't really long been a part. He's always kind of resented that he wasn't a part of it and always wanted to be a part of it. That's what makes him such a prick. President-elect Donald J. Trump will replace Mr. Biden on January 20th. We'll see about that. Tomorrow's the 6th. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the libs have up their sleeves. Yeah. Don't count your chickens yet. Determined to continue his assault.
All right, Ms. Ventura, you're gonna have to wait here in the closet for a couple of weeks. But
Yeah, right,
I would have good
exactly.
authority. He's gonna walk right past this spot.
Exactly. Determined to continue his assault on what he has long called the swamp. In 2016, Mr. Trump vowed to wage war against establishment members in both parties who he said had reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. But on Saturday, Mr. Biden awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to 18 people, including some of the brightest lights of the old guard that Mr. Trump wants to tear down. In doing so, the 82-year-old president is sending an unmistakable message of support for a democratic order he has said is threatened by Mr. Trump's reelection. Let's remember, our sacred effort continues, and to keep going, as my mother would say, we have to keep the faith. He told the crowd in the East Room.
My mother's right here. I'd like to introduce you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
She keeps calling herself Jill. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what
her name's not Jill. It's Lillian.
He told the crowd in the East Room of the White House at the end of the ceremony. All modern presidents have awarded the medal to those whom they found deserving, often as they are leaving the political scene for good, and sometimes with an ideological tilt. It is seen by historians as a final use of the presidential megaphone to say to Americans, this is whom we should admire and emulate. After Mr. Trump won in 2016...
You too can crash the British pound.
Yeah, right, exactly. After Mr. Trump won in 2016, President Barack Obama gave the medal to NBA star Michael Jordan, the actors Tom Hanks and Robert De Niro, and others. Earlier, Mr. Obama had given the award to Mr. Biden, who had served as his vice president. 4 years later, as Mr. Trump was leaving office, he gave the medal to two professional golfers, an Olympic athlete, and Representatives Devin Nunes of California and Jim Jordan of Ohio, two of his fiercest Republican loyalists in Congress. He should have given one to the what's his name, the My Pillow guy. The pillow
Why
guy.
is he talking about
Lindell.
Arnold Palmer's penis?
Yeah, exactly. Should have given one to Arnold Palmer, a posthumous Medal of Freedom to Arnold Palmer.
To his penis.
Yeah, I tell you, we could have hung a medal on that thing. But Mr. Biden's use of the presidential prerogative appeared to be more even-pointed than that of some of his predecessors. Pardon me. His decision to give the medal posthumously to Mr. Kennedy could be read as a rebuke to Mr. Kennedy's son, a member of perhaps the country's most famous Democratic family. Well, that's fairly obvious, I think, that he chose to give it to RFK.
Yes.
What, how many years after he died? What, 50 years after he was killed? The decision by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to endorse Mr. Trump during the campaign, despite denunciations from most of his relatives, helped lead to Mr. Trump's choice of him to head the Department of Health and Human Services. The White House noted that the elder Mr. Romney, a Republican, had been the chairman and president of American Motors Corporation and had later served as governor of Michigan and as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. But he was also the father of the younger Mr. Romney, the only Republican to vote twice to convict Mr. Trump after his two impeachments. So, yeah, between RFK and between George Romney and Bono even, right, it's pretty obvious that aside from Hillary Clinton and George Soros, I mean, it's pretty obvious that this was a final celebration, almost a funeral procession, almost a funeral march. It was a swan song. It was one last hurrah for like I said, a cultural, social, financial, political elite that has just been completely destroyed, reputationally speaking, by Trump. Obviously, I don't believe Donald Trump has done much damage to the economic elite in this country. As we covered at the top of the show, you got just about every major corporation you can think of donating 7 figures to his inauguration. But reputationally, culturally, socially, yeah, this was sort of the last dance and a last pat on the back for a certain cohort of elite society that has seen its influence wane over time and now has been completely stomped out by Trump for a second time, this time more convincingly than the first, obviously.
You know what? I've heard a lot of rumors going around, especially since October 7th, about, how the Jews run the world. I think we should get a smell to George Soros.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. That the tone deafness of it, but it's not only, yes, it's a funeral procession, it's a love letter to the neoliberal elite. It's also a big fuck you to any prospect of change within that party, any acknowledgement of failure, any acknowledgement that their generation not only destroyed their party, but had a lot to do with driving the country into the ground and laying the groundwork for Trump to ascend to power a second time. Just absolute denial. I mean, it's just a list, aside from the cultural figures like Denzel, which there's nothing unusual about that. They all do that. But in terms of the political figures, the donors, it's just a parade of criminals and simps. The world's kitchen guy. Wow, man. These people backed the murder of your workers. They backed the murder of your workers. How do you go up there and take that medal? The most base thing this guy could have done would have been to show up and then throw the medal at him.
Right. Exactly.
They'll never do that because that especially if you have those kinds of politics, you're in that ecosystem. Those are the people you know. Once you tell them to go fuck themselves, well, that's it. You're out of the club now.
Right.
Which again, hey, guy like this, how much money do you need? That's what I always say when I look at these people. We were talking about that with Van Jones, where he went up there with that grotesque display at the Israel March. How much money you need, man? Like, you don't have enough? You don't have enough? But once you get to a certain level, you think in terms of that level. You think in terms of maintaining that level. You don't think in terms of what you need anymore.
Yeah, you can't imagine extricating yourself from that social circle. Even though you would be like a beloved figure if you told them to go fuck themselves by so many people. I mean, one of the lessons of
if he
this
took
election,
that medal, threw it on the ground, spit on it, stepped on it, and walked out, he'd be a legend forever.
Oh, of course. I mean, one of the lessons of this election is that legacy media, establishment institutions don't have the cultural cachet that they once did. And so, whereas, 8, 10, 12 years ago, you might think, well, I can't snub the president when he asked me to the White House to give me this Medal of Freedom. That means I'm out of the club. Well, one thing that the results of this election kind of proved is that club is not as big as it looks. That club only looks big because it still has a lot of money propping it up. But in terms of actual people, in terms of actual like popular will, popular support, it's not nearly as big as people think it is. In fact, it is really more a paper tiger now than it's ever been, which means that you would be more beloved by the public if you're Jose Andres, if you decline that medal, than if you took it. Same goes for Denzel, by the way. Like, I understand he's not a particularly, like, political guy. Maybe he just doesn't think that way. But, like, you're talking about one of the least popular presidents in modern history who backed a genocide. If there's ever a time to tell him to tell a president to shove their Medal of Freedom up their ass, it's now. Now, obviously, Hillary Clinton's not going to do that. Obviously, George Soros is not going to do that.
Obviously, the Hollywood people are the last.
Bono is not going to do that, right? But if you're the World Central Kitchen guy, I mean, there's nothing. There's no reason not to. And even if you're a Denzel type, there's no reason not to. If you're just a movie star who doesn't have any real politics, like I said, now he's not thinking in those terms.
I mean, if he's going to make like a Gaza statement, there is.
He's not thinking. I'm just talking in terms of like what the public will would be, like what people would think of it, right? more people would respect him for
sure.
it than not. Yeah.
Well, you want to
because even the MAGA people would respect it, but like a lot of people from
Sure.
all different political stripes would think it was base if
Right.
you turned him down.
Well, if you want to see where culture plays into politics, and you can see a lot of what's going on in the society through culture, the Whitney Cummings thing said it all about where we are. 5 years ago, if she had gotten that gig, less than that, 3 years, maybe even 2 years, you'd want to kiss CNN's ass, right?
Right.
You want to get invited back. You don't want to burn these people.
Right.
Her whole strategy for advancing her career was take this opportunity to do a hit piece on CNN,
Right.
to just take shots at CNN, so those will go viral, and I'll be able to command more money in my gigs, and I'll
Right.
be more in demand. Like she just used CNN to go viral attacking CNN.
Exactly.
That tells you all you need to know about where their power is versus the power of social media platforms, because that's who she was marketing to. She was marketing to the social media platforms because that translates into money for gigs, film, TV appearances, because now you're hot for attacking this despised media network that nobody really watches anymore.
Exactly. Luis de la Cruz says, Russ, I saw the Dylan movie, and yes, it sucked balls.
Oh,
is that
did it?
true? I'm a big fan of his music, but that movie could have just been about the Newport Folk Festival. Instead, we got a sloppy rehash of his boring romance. Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, I heard the Joan Baez thing was a big part of it.
Yeah, I figured it would be. Because 67, thanks for the $10. Raymond Shaw is the kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful human being I've ever known in my life. Thank you, because appreciate that. Asked Meta AI to describe the Vanguard, and part of the answer was known as TMZ of the Ozarks. Thank you, Abiding 71. Appreciate that. Thank you for that. Abiding says Corn Pop sold lids of Mexican brick to suckers at NYU Film School spring of 75. Thanks, Abiding. Appreciate that. Somebody needs to sell Chef Andre's stay away from paddle boards. Thank you, Hillary Hinton. Appreciate that. Really wish the news was better today, says Kenman G, but this is how it goes. I also found out today my mom has only days left to live. Hopefully better news in the future. Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that, Kenman G. That's terrible. Has she been sick for a while? I'm sorry. Our thoughts to Kenman. Hearts for Kenman in the chat, both YouTube and the Rumble chat. Well, thank you for that, Kenman, and best wishes, of course, to your mom. Very sorry to hear that, my friend. Sparky over on YouTube says, free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Thank you, Sparky. Erdogan needs to saturate Syria with Turkish army peacekeepers before the U.S. figures out how to stop him. Although not ideal, it may be Syria's only chance to pull back from being the next Libya, says Sparky. Thank you, Sparky. Amadeus, thanks for the $5, says, even getting a nomination for most of these awards would be a huge insult for me. Thank you, Amadeus. And Kenman, you got a lot of hearts coming in the YouTube chat for your mom there, just so you know. I know you're over on Rumble, but the YouTube chat is lighting it up for you and your mom there. So thank you, Kenman, for that. Okay. Before we go on to our next segment, we want to read a word from Rumble Premium. Here we are on Rumble Studio tonight. So this sponsorship is from Rumble, and it's one that's incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on issues like COVID, but they did. Facebook even admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving shows like us a voice to talk to audiences like you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France, and they're attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to suppress speech. Rumble is fighting to preserve it. But Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone, as they don't get much of them. So watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in the fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium, which is the ad-free version of the Rumble platform. So join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. So go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now's the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are, of course, just happy if you watch us on the platform. Alrighty. Let's take some more Rumble rants here. That President Medal of whatever, says Eric Rousseau, is 30 pieces of silver for betraying the memory of his murdered workers. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Strongly worded, but I do agree with you. Yep, absolutely. Sparky, free Canada from the Castro regime. Sparky, annex Canada. Remember the War of 1812. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate that. Why didn't this hero denounce the medal? Curious, says Amadeus. Well, he's a big Ukraine guy. People have been talking about how the World Central Kitchen guys were pretty establishment aligned from a political standpoint. But even they came out the day after that strike and said this was on purpose. Right. And then even after Israel promised an investigation and didn't give you one, you still go and you take the medal. I mean, yeah, I don't see how I could do that. Okay. All right. We are going to move on here. All right. So we're still talking about Joe Biden's last days in office. And David Pakman was very proud to have scored an invite. I was recently part of a small group of independent media creators and influencers invited to meet with the president and other administration officials at the White House. I do not expect to be invited back to the White House for quite some time. Ha ha ha, get it? Because Donald Trump is coming to the White House. That's a great joke. Know why he has all those subscribers now. One day we'll be as funny and clever as Dave Pakman. Don't worry. Yeah. With your help, we'll get there, folks. So Aaron Mate says, in between giggles and handshakes, did you happen to independently create the time to ask him why he's enabling a genocide in Gaza and invite him to use his influence to stop it? Good question, Aaron. And Aaron actually did ratio him on that for some reason. The likes were not included in my screenshot there. They should have been. That was my error. I like this one. With all due respect, this is the first photo I've seen of Biden where I think he could take the other guy in a fight. True that, Anthony Galley. Yes, good one there. Will Sloan says, this is so cool. The reward for pretending a genocide isn't happening is you get to hang out with a hated president in his lame duck period. Yes, well said. Well said. And, of course, Sabby says, real independent media isn't invited to the White House. Pakman is a tool for the establishment, and this is peak access journalism. He's not a threat to the status quo. That's why he's there. Yeah, the only difference between, like, David Pakman and Harry Sisson is Pakman had a YouTube channel before this campaign, and so they just kind of invited Pakman. Like, they didn't actually create Pakman as a sort of influencer avatar for the Biden campaign. He already existed as a Democrat shill YouTuber, and so they just brought him in. That doesn't make you independent. You just happen to be there. You're just older than Harry Sisson and the TikTokers were. But that's about as independent as he is. But nonetheless, pretty proud to score an invite.
Well, what you're seeing with a lot of independent creators, the ladder to the top in corporate media is very narrow, and there aren't a lot of slots. So in addition to people like ourselves, like Sabby, who want to go ahead and actually challenge propaganda narratives, you have a lot of people who just would have gone into corporate media, but they couldn't get there. Right. So, hey, let's hang out a shingle here. That they don't have an independent media motivation or sensibility. It was the only way that they could market their propaganda skills because no one was hiring them at MSNBC. That's all someone like Pakman is.
Right. Exactly. Now, someone else who scored an invite, as noticed by Kay here, is...
you need to remember this next time they talk about language and sexism and body shaming. You need to show this picture. Next time a lib pulls that shit, I want to have this in your digital wallet.
Yeah, so this is Kenny Walden, apparently. I did not even know who this was. I crowdsourced this because JB tweeted about him, and I commented on his post. I said, who is this guy? I'd never even heard of this guy. So this is the Too Raw, Too Real guy. I guess his name is Kenny Walden. And he scored an invite. Apparently, this summit was from a couple weeks ago, and like the photos just came out now. But he was, part of this small sort of group of influencers and YouTubers and quote unquote independent media personalities who was invited to be honored at the Biden White House. And as Russell said, keep this photo and this video on hand to show someone the next time they try and scold you. If you were, if you are an alumni of the Bernie movement and you remember how quick they were to call us a bunch of, racially insensitive misogynists who were just vicious and hateful and vituperative and, you're so mean, you're such bullies. This is a sort of short compilation of some of this guy's most recent hits where he lashes out at Bernie Sanders, at Rashida Tlaib, and anyone else who he deems insufficiently loyal to Democratic brass. So this is quite something. Let's give this a play.
All you fake ass Bernie bro, stop putting this big black woman with these yellow arms under my post. Fuck Rashida, bitch. I don't give a damn about this bitch.
I don't fuck with AOC. AOC can't do a motherfucking thing for me, but make me a goddamn martini, bitch. She can't do shit for me. She need to take her ass back to the motherfucking bartending days, bitch. She ain't done shit.
Fuck Bernie Sanders. Tell it in his old ass, busted ass face. Let him have another goddamn heart attack. I don't give a fuck if that hurts.
Nice.
2 cents, bitch. 2. Fuck you, bitch. I don't give a fuck about this bitch. She ain't on the same motherfucking level as fucking Hillary Clinton. And last time I checked, Hillary Clinton was defending bitches like her. Last time I checked, bitch, she was defending bitches like you. Last time I checked, she was fighting for Muslim rights, bitch. Bernie Sanders was anti-billionaire, but it's funny. Maybe it's because you guys have a lot in common, or maybe it's because the fact that you sucking his dick so hard that's why the bottom row of your fucking teeth are rotten, bitch. I want to go hard for Kamala Harris, but I ain't heard nothing about this black agenda. Bitch, shut the fuck up! It's on that motherfucking website. Look it up!
It's on the motherfucking website. Look it up. That's the guy. That's the guy who apparently gets.
I mean, last I heard, those are canceling words.
Yeah,
he's body shaming a plus-sized black woman, right?
Yeah.
Right. He's talking about sucking dick and AOC could fix me a martini, just sexism, misogyny,
bitch this, bitch that,
bitch
every other
that,
word.
He's throwing around bitch every other word. Wow, man, and that's how they really care about this stuff. You can see how much they actually care about it. They're not just weaponizing it to pretend to have a politics. They don't have one. That's their fake excuse for a politics. And in the end, this is why they lost all moral authority in these areas, because everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. The people, the last person they made pay a price was probably the wrong person, Al Franken.
Right, exactly. No, this would be like if Bernie had won and he invited us to the White House. Like, that would be like the equivalent. And
we never said anything.
No,
like
we never
that.
said anything like that. Like, we never went that far. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if he directed those words at Hillary Clinton or at an establishment
my God,
figure?
they would start a cancel campaign to get him pulled off all of his platforms.
Yeah.
Of course they would. And also, I just gotta say, man, like the niche that this guy carved out for himself, it's this fake authenticity. Like it's this. Does he believe this? I mean, certainly. I mean, maybe he does, but certainly what he's doing is performing. I mean, this is like the ultimate barking at the moon.
Right.
But again, you know, just like Van Jones, just like Al Sharpton, they play on certain positive stereotypes about black people as being authentic. in order to sell an establishment agenda. This is an edgy variation on that. I'm the authentic, telling it like it is black man, and I'm not going to mince any words. And, they're very happy with sexism, misogyny, as long as it's packaged that way and in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite something. So JB said, if crashing out was a person. Yes, there you go. Kate Willett says, it's wild that AOC put all her credibility on the line in support of a cognitively impaired Biden remaining the candidate, and he's just shaking hands with an influencer whose whole shtick is right-wing AOC hate. That's right. It is very right-wing AOC hate. The loyalty really doesn't cut both ways. Exactly. I mean, look at that. Like, these are sitting members of Congress. These are members of the caucus. Bernie's still in office. Rashida Tlaib is still in office. AOC, obviously, supposed rising star within the party. This guy on tape multiple times just saying the nastiest shit he could think of off the top of his head about them. Yeah, they bring him in. They shake hands. That's amazing. That's what loyalty gets you.
Well,
you
cut the one. I guess he said the N-word in that one.
Yeah, we got to cut those.
You cut the one where he literally started crying.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an act.
Right.
It's an act. He may have these politics. He probably does, but his shtick is an act for the cameras. And hey, it worked. Who knows how much he got paid on the side, like Sisson, like Uncommitted. Who knows how much money they paid him during campaign season to do that shit.
Yeah. I would say that is a pretty safe bet. I would say that's a pretty safe bet. All right, folks. Well, we're going to take another game break here to remind you that if you have an arts project, a small business, anything you would like to promote on the show, we have a contact form you could fill out and go ahead and try and make that happen. You can help us help you get the word out about your project and support the program. One of our friends who does that is Stephen Cole from the Full Crazy Town book and podcast. So Full Crazy Town tries to walk the thin line between criticizing the Democrats whilst fending off accusations of being a MAGA front. So the bottom line is it's probably too late to turn back the headlong charge into the New World Order, but perhaps we can mitigate the damage. The Workers' Strike Back movement and conference in February is a great place to start fighting back against the corporatists, authoritarians, oligarchs, establishment billionaires, the Pentagon, and the Zionists. Local actions such as citizen-based initiatives and specific ballot measures can affect real change. We need to fight the power, otherwise we're being complicit with those in power. They count on our apathy, our stressful lives overwhelming our energy levels, and the media's effect on our belief systems. A general strike where the workers stop working and consumers stop consuming would halt capitalism in its tracks. Trickle-down economics definitely does not work for anyone except for the 1%. The starting point that can be summarized by the slogan, healthcare, not warfare. If we had universal health care, a myriad of problems would rapidly fade. Better health care means more productive, happy people, not addicted to harmful substances or practices, and would mean a boost to our mental, physical, and spiritual selves. We become better able to help ourselves, our neighbors, and our communities by thinking globally and acting locally. This is a hugely popular and successful idea that benefits desperate people among us. Universal health care would help reduce stress levels so more people could realize their potentials. You can find all of Steven's ideas for organizing for the future at fullcrazytown.com. And you could find his book right here. And he also has a podcast that you can subscribe to. So it's fullcrazytown.com. Go check that out and purchase the book if you'd like to help support Steven's project. Alrighty. Let's move on. We got some more super chats and Rumble Rants to read here. Gazans equals fish in a barrel with a people under siege. Thank you, DC. Appreciate that. Quintessential. Thanks for the $10. Kolinsky and Walls, Chef Jose and Biden. Same. Thank you for Quintessential. Appreciate that. Rappaport and Ethan Klein are the best candidates. They have cancelable offenses outside of Palestine. We have to be constant about it and go one at a time. No, I'm not talking about canceling celebrities just to cancel celebrities. We're talking about leveraging the goodwill that they have built up to compel them to participate in mutual aid, right? It's not about just boycotting someone for the sake of boycotting. You want to find a beloved figure and say, hey, if you want to remain a beloved figure, you should start donating to these mutual aid campaigns. That's the idea. That's the idea.
How much they paying Robert Downey Jr. to play Dr. Doom?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's a good one.
You can throw some of that freaking money at GoFundMes for
$1 million into a healthcare GoFundMe. Exactly. Beautiful. See, that's an idea. I like that one. Philip Blair says, notice the times Jane Goodall did not clap. You know, it's funny. I was going to mention that the one person there who I actually kind of like, and I don't know what her politics are, would be Jane Goodall for that charity work that she does, especially with the animals and stuff. So she seems like a solid person. And I did not notice that she was not clapping a lot of the times, but that's a good observation, Philip. Thank you for that. Amadeus, thanks for the $2. Even clapping at that ceremony makes you evil. Thank you, Amadeus. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. Why don't we move on? Russell, we got yours next. All right. This is the fun one. This is the New York Post version of the CNN Syria prison story.
Yes. This is really, as Nick put it, demonstration that at this point, the deep state is not even trying. They're not even trying. As an American, I'm insulted. I'm really insulted. They used to go and get planes and crash them into the Twin Towers and the whole thing, and getting rid of the surveillance cameras on the Pentagon. It was all the very complicated kinds of schemes, and now they're just letting the Post reporter walk into the alleged terrorist apartment a couple days after the attack. A video showing a journalist inside the Houston home of a suspected New Orleans terrorist is drawing attention from lawmakers. The New York Post recorded the footage just 37 hours after the deadly car attack on Bourbon Street. One senator is questioning the FBI over what she calls an unsecure perimeter around the suspect's home between FBI searches. Around 3 a.m. on New Year's Day, authorities say Shamsuddin Jabbar was the driver of a truck that plowed through a crowd on Bourbon Street, killing 14 people and injuring dozens more. The suspect died in a shootout with police. Authorities believe ISIS inspired the attack. They found an ISIS flag, weapons, and explosive devices inside Jabbar's truck. Well, that's convenient. The FBI identified Jabbar's last known residence as a home in Houston, where agents raided the property between January 1st and January 2nd. They also reportedly discovered bomb-making materials inside the home. However, less than 8 hours after the FBI left, a New York Post reporter posted a video of herself walking through the unsecured house. She filmed items left behind by the FBI, including computers, a Quran, and what she described as a bomb-making station. All right, so let's look at this video, which is just really amazing. It really is very much like the Syria video.
We're here inside the New Orleans terrorist home. You can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday. But if
they may put up some caution tape. No, just left it out for you.
He was up to. He had this work area here, lots of different chemicals splayed around, and different electronics. This is again a work setup.
I understand it's reopening tomorrow as an Airbnb.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, just the whole premise. This is this major terrorist case. This is a major national story. All eyes are on this case. The idea that you wouldn't have a couple of agents or local police in a car outside surveilling that location, that the location would not be secured, that there would be no police tape. It's such an obvious setup. It's just amazing. And the things that are left behind. Really? You would leave chemicals and things like just leave
Right,
that?
what if she came in there and fucked with something? What if the camera wasn't on and she touched something? Right? Like you wouldn't doesn't that belong in an evidence lab? At the very least, if you were gonna let a reporter in, wouldn't you have some law enforcement authority escort them through to make sure that they didn't touch anything?
No, this is a total setup. Like look at the things she finds.
It's very unkempt in here. If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray. There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage.
All right, and this too, they wouldn't have taken the Qurans. They wouldn't have taken them in case there were messages or notes inside. I mean, my understanding is a case this major, a terrorist case like this, they would pretty much take everything. They would pretty much send everything to a lab.
I can't imagine they wouldn't. I can't imagine you'd be able to get in there without a law enforcement escort if you were allowed in there at all. I mean, you're talking about, like you said, a major terrorism case where over a dozen people were killed, dozens more injured. It's obviously, a horrible event. And you just let a New York Post reporter in yoga pants in there with no escort, no supervision, no one there to make sure that she's not touching anything. I'm not saying she would do anything on purpose, but you don't know. You'd fucking touch. I mean, they got chemicals laid on the table. You go and you touch. I mean, you could touch something and fuck it up.
Well, also, and this is subtle, but look at her body language. Look at her tone. That's not a reporter who snuck into a crime scene. That is a propagandist who has permission to be there.
Well, yeah, yes, I don't think she would.
Yes, there's a bedroom back there. Okay, so why didn't you go there? Like she's walking around with a confidence that you would not walk around with unless you had some kind of an official sanction to do this. If you just walked into an FBI crime scene, you'd kind of be like, yeah, no, let's see what we can find. She's very confident, very comfortable.
There, as well as even the Bible here.
No, they would just
mostly
leave that.
Books on Islam and his prayer rug just to the left of me here. And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, his bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on. Some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure.
I'm sorry. In what world would they leave that?
Right. That's what doesn't make. That's the worst thing. Like that's what really is the most suspicious about it. How could you not take that into the lab? How?
Of course. there is absolutely no way in hell that you're doing a legitimate terrorism investigation. You leave the chemical lab alone. Like, yeah, no, that looks okay. That looks okay.
What that was for in, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here, and just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments when neighbors said he left just before the New Year's holiday, saying he was done with his lease, it was up, and he was on his way to New Orleans where he would live there. Didn't take any furniture because he said his new home would be furnished. That's all we know so far.
Okay. All right. So that's the most obvious setup since a couple of weeks ago with the CNN Sirius setup. Brett Weinstein, who I'm not a fan of, but he did tweet out something I thought was probably right. Like, yeah, the deep state is working really hard to use this to what purpose is just not quite clear. yet what exactly this is. And Taibbi just dropped a very good article. Between the drones in New Jersey, which he lives in New Jersey, he says, like, yeah, like I'm driving around with my son, like drones all over the sky. The American people are just being gaslit on a scale that they have never been gaslit before. You just have all of these things happening that clearly don't add up. Officials not willing to tell you the truth or telling you very misleading stories. It's actually a permanent part of the set now. Our friend, I think I can say our friend Tom O'Neill, my fellow former horse and carriage driver, his book is back there, Chaos. If you haven't read it, I'd really recommend it. One of the most interesting things in that book is he describes the head of MK Ultra. He found his letters and papers at Berkeley in a basement. People had just forgotten about it. I believe it was Berkeley. And he found notes that he wrote saying these Manchurian candidate experiments that supposedly were a failure. This is back in the 50s. He's writing, yeah, we did it. We did it. We were able to erase somebody's memory, implant suggestions. And there was actually an incident on a base that he was the psychiatrist at, where a soldier with no history of violence or whatsoever murdered and assaulted a child, a 6-year-old girl. No memory of having done it afterwards whatsoever. At this point, once I read that, a lot of things make sense in that context. A lot of these weird incidents on the one hand, it makes sense you would have a disproportionate number of people who do things like this with a military background because they know how to do it. Something like the Oklahoma City bombing, that kind of thing.
Right.
Then again, when you look at some of these incidents where what he did not take any skill, right? That so many of these people come off these army bases, the fact that him and the other attacker came off the same army base. And you look at some of what O'Neill uncovers in that book, and a lot of American history, a lot of these incidents make a lot of sense if you assume that claiming that the Manchurian candidate experiments didn't work is a cover story. Actually, they did work. And if you assume that they have the ability to actually implant suggestions and get people to commit assassinations without real awareness of why or what they're doing, a lot of these things that make no sense add up. Do we know that's what happened? We don't know. But I would say this. When you see that reporter walking into that apartment completely unimpeded, okay, so this is an op. So at that point, if you assume that, a lot of the strangeness around the assassins and the attempts with the guy in the Tesla, supposedly, from what I've read, he certainly had the skills to have done that a lot better. Instead, he did it in this very amateurish way. Yeah, I mean, it all looks like an op. And if you do assume that they do know how to do a Manchurian candidate thing on soldiers that they want to send out to do this kind of thing, of course, there's no way we can know that, but it kind of looks that way.
Well, I mean, they're clearly trying to spin a narrative about this event. I mean, they're clearly, I mean, I've not seen a more deliberate attempt and a more obvious attempt to establish some sort of pretext for Middle East war. This is really the most I've seen, the most obvious I've seen since the days after 9/11. Where it was just this very sort of inescapable and sort of inevitable thing. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say that, you know, regardless of the genesis of the attack, and obviously we're not saying the attack didn't happen. The attack obviously happened. You know, he obviously had a lot of people get killed and injured. regardless of the genesis of that, there's clearly an effort to use this as a pretext for a very hawkish Middle Eastern foreign policy, which I think we can expect under Donald Trump. We have no reason to think we shouldn't. Trump has been more hawkish on Iran than even Biden has throughout the campaign. They tried to blame the assassination attempts on Iran. They tried to blame the drones over New Jersey on Iran. This is clearly what they want. Miriam Adelson doesn't throw money at politicians for nothing. She expects a return on investment. And that seems to be what's going on here. Obviously, no matter what you think, even if you think that's a legit crime scene and she was a legit reporter acting in a legit way, which is just, to me, totally bonkers how you can leave explosive chemicals out on a table and let a reporter in yoga pants go in there with no escort whatsoever. But even if you take all of it at face value, even taking it all at face value, it's clearly politically motivated. They are clearly trying to prime the public to think that there is an immediate threat of Islamic terror. We've seen this movie before. Yeah. I remember this all too well. After 9/11, I was just a teenager, but I remember it very, very clearly. This is what's happening now. For those who are in the audience who may be too young to remember, the post 9/11 climate of paranoia and fear and the very, very simplistic black and white clash of civilization narratives. This is all the exact same. It's all the exact same. I mean, just comically obvious. Oh, here's a Quran open to the page about jihad. Like, it is all like, it's that obvious what they're trying to do. And I would say, buckle up, because Donald Trump is not going to stick his thumb in Miriam Adelson's eye. He's just not. You just cannot count on that. So, very, very scary times. That was a funny video in a dark and quirky kind of way, but it's a very, very serious time we're in now where, a lot of people have a lot of very big plans and they're not going to want them spoiled. And Donald Trump is not going to spoil them, no matter how much he likes to talk about how he's anti-war.
No, not only is he not going to spoil them, he's gonna triple down.
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's move on to some more super chats here. Brian Edamod says, sorry, the biggest NFL game is on, so can't watch. Go Vikings. All right, good luck. I haven't watched any football this year. I don't even know what the hell's going on. I know the Bills are doing well, and the Chiefs are doing well. See, up here, so some of the people in the last show, they're talking about how, New York. We were talking about how when you get upstate in New York, it's sort of more Midwestern culturally than New York City. The team up here, even in Albany, and we're probably closer.
Even the accent gets Midwestern.
Yeah, we're probably closer geographically to New York City than to Buffalo. In fact, we almost certainly are. It's a shorter ride to New York City.
Oh yeah, yeah, you are.
But the team up here is the Bills. The team up here, the football team up here is the Bills. It's not the Jets or the Giants. If you go to like the Target, all the merch that they have on display is all Bills merch. So there you have it. So I'll be. I usually watch the football playoffs when I can. So I like that. They're fun. MedWeb, thanks for the $1.99. Next presidential award of freedom, a giant turd. Thank you for that. Peter version 1, thanks for the $4.99. Sent an email some time ago after the attempt on Trump. He got though. My prediction will happen. The U.S. will make Israel, NATO, Iran retaliates. World War III. Thank you very much. Jake, can we hit our scroll, please? Can we hear a word from our patrons? So, folks, if you would like to support this project, the best way to do so is to become a member. You can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or you can join our locals. That's DoDissidents.locals.com.
We're on
link,
a mission from God.
Yeah, there you go. That link is where you go to sign up, DoDissidents.locals.com. That's the one we're really pushing hard. If you're watching on Rumble, you don't even need the link. There's a bright red join button underneath the video player where you can click and access our locals page, where for just $5 a month, you get your name up on the show credits. You get call-in access to our post-show Q&As every Sunday night, which, hey, tonight's Sunday, so we're going to do a Q&A over on Rumble. All are welcome to watch. Paid members, however, are welcome to call in and join the fun and be a part of the show. You also get 2 supporter streams per month. One of those is a movie club night. The other one is a regular show just like this, where we do about an hour's worth of content and take an hour's worth of calls. So those are interactive as well. You also get live stream access to our pre-recorded full-length interviews. So we do a lot of our interviews now pre-recorded because the scheduling is easier. It makes it a lot easier on the guests. And so if you are a paid member, you get live stream access to those. So you see them when they happen with a live chat and obviously early release for those videos for you guys. That's not all. You also get special live stream access to special live events that we do. Russ did a walking tour in New York City, approaching the Halloween holiday. We also had
I'm going to be doing the Irish Mob Tour soon.
That's right, the Irish Mob Tour. That's actually coming up sooner than we think. That's in March.
Yep, March.
That'll be available to stream for patrons exclusively. We also streamed our 2 live shows in New York City in June for patrons. So that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot of perks you get for just $5 a month. And you also get the good karma of supporting independent media and keeping this project afloat. We absolutely rely on our members to keep the lights on here. And so if you can, go to dudissidents.locals.com. We sure make it worth your while. Thank you all very much for your support. Okay, what do we got here? Simplistic linguistic. Yeah, the Syrians are way better off with the Israelis, Turks, U.S., and Al-Qaeda in charge. Thank you, Simplistic linguistic. El Casador, those freedom medals are tight around the neck. Looks like B&D ball gags. Is that because Biden knows how to put them on? There you go. Thank you, El Casador. Holy shit, with that hair system, I thought Bono was Elton John for a second. Oh, good one, Hillary Hinton. Appreciate that. Cole 3000 says, reason Roy Moore was the Alabama Senate candidate in 2017. Bannon endorsed Mo Brooks and Trump McConnell backed Luther Strange. They split the MAGA vote, leading to Roy Moore winning the primary. Interesting. I don't remember the details of that. I do remember Trump backing Luther Strange, though, and that not working out. Atticon, I enjoy your show. Don't always agree, but you are like a more polished version of JD. Speaking of which, can you give him your music? The El Mariachi Salsa Eternal Death Loop is getting old. You know, it's funny. I want to play some salsa music for our countdown, but I feel like I can't because it would feel like a knockoff of Jimmy's music. But I would love to play like some Latin jazz and stuff like that, you know. But I feel like that everybody would just be trolling us constantly. Oh, yeah. You stole that from the Jimmy Dore show, so we can't play. So he's got the Latin music, and we've got everything else. I guess that's how it works.
Yeah, for our guest stint this week, we're doing death metal.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, so I've got to send him.
Wake that audience up.
Yeah. My cat does turds more deserving of awards, says Furrow's Queen. Awards that actually mean stuff. In fact, you've replaced Bono with the shit that Cleopatra did earlier. Nobody would have noticed. E.g., Turd of the Year. Thank you, Furrow's Queen. Appreciate that very much. Okay, why don't we go to our next segment here? Russell, this one is yours as well.
Okay. This is a little more grim than the last one, a lot more. I said earlier in the show, they're really trying to exterminate the Palestinian people. That's, I believe, why they attacked the World Central Kitchen, so that other European aid groups would not want to come in and help. And now, next step in their plan is what they have long sought, the end of UNRWA. Saeed Hashash, a father of 4, was connected to a dialysis machine when he learned that Israel had passed laws that would halt the operations of the agency that pays for his kidney treatment. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, is the largest aid organization operating in the Palestinian territories. It has about a month left before it is paralyzed by new Israeli legislation. This is life or death, said his wife, Rashida Hashash, sitting beside him in their small Balata home. We are fully reliant on UNRWA. The 75-year-old agency was established shortly after the founding of the State of Israel in the United Nations. It provides Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip with a crucial safety net of food, medicine, and education, operating nearly 100 schools and dozens of health facilities in the West Bank alone. Israel stepped up its criticism of the agency in the wake of the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attacks, accusing at least 12 UNRWA workers of participating in the assault on southern Israel. Israel later accused UNRWA of employing hundreds of Palestinians with links to Hamas and other militant groups, which UNRWA says it hasn't received evidence of. And they won't, because there is no evidence. They made that claim early as a pretext to do what they're doing now. The agency fired several...
I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to pause with a very important detail. Even if what they said was true, they had originally suspected 12 UNRWA employees of having participated in October 7th. They recently adjusted that claim down into the single digits. I forget the exact number. I believe it was 5. I could be wrong about that, but I remember they tweaked it down to the single digits. UNRWA employs 30,000 people. So even if what they were saying was true, the idea that that would reflect a sort of militant hostility to UNRWA that would warrant its defunding is absurd. It's absurd. Even if what they were saying was true, it would be 12 out of 30,000.
Yeah, and what the article is saying is now they're claiming hundreds because they don't care what's true. They'll say anything. Yeah. They'll say anything. They feel no need to actually make truthful accusations.
Even if it were a few hundred, it'd be a few hundred out of 30,000.
Out of 30,000.
You're talking about
people.
1%. A few. What? Yeah.
This is a
300
campaign.
is 1% of 30,000. So even if that were true, it would be 1%.
It's a campaign
and it's
of
nowhere
extermination.
Near true. Yeah.
It's a campaign of extermination. They want to exterminate these people. They don't care if they live or die. They want them as refugees in another country outside what they consider Israel, which is from the river to the sea, Greater Israel. That's what this is all about. They want the Palestinians to be pushed into neighboring Arab countries or dead. Third option, staying there, not on the table. The agency fired several employees and investigated others for alleged links to Hamas in the wake of the attacks. UNRWA said it has long shared the names and functions of all staff members annually with Israel, including the names of the people Israel has made allegations against. In October, Israel's parliament passed laws that will effectively prevent UNRWA from operating in the West Bank or Gaza Strip beyond the end of January. The provisions would cut the agency off from access to Israeli entrance permits into Gaza and the West Bank. They would also end coordination with the Israeli military, which UNRWA relies on to ferry staff and aid around Gaza. The impact of Israel's laws, if implemented, could have far-reaching consequences. In the West Bank, it could deepen an economic crisis and risk political instability. In Gaza, it could dismantle a logistical aid network led by UNRWA, choking the flow of humanitarian aid into a territory devastated by conflict and hunger. Israeli politicians have said the agency has a bias against Israel, creates a welfare network discouraging Palestinians from leaving camps. Well, yes, because you're giving them so many options outside of these camps. Yes, there are lovely garden homes just outside of these camps that they're refusing to go to, and keeps alive hopes among Palestinians that they can return to the homes their families fled or were forced to leave. So you feel that this keeps hope alive for them, that they can get back the houses you stole. I thought you didn't steal any land from these people. I thought they left on their own. I thought that they it was a land without people for a people without a land, wasn't it? Right? So what homes are you talking about exactly?
Yeah, well, I mean, not only that, but as you just said there, what do you mean discouraged from leaving camps? They're blockaded.
Right.
So
Where
where
would
are they
they go?
supposed to go?
Where would they go?
Yeah.
Oh yes, there's a beautiful modern apartment right across the
Yeah.
street. They're just choosing not to live in it. They're just being stubborn about it. Dan Aluz, a member of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party, said UNRWA, quote, perpetuates the refugee status of the Palestinians with the clear purpose of creating constant friction. It's not the genocidal apartheid state creating the friction. It's the humanitarian aid agency keeping these people alive. And that's the real issue. They don't want these people alive. Israeli Minister Sharon Haskell said UNRWA was the cornerstone of conflict in Israel, in part because it perpetuates people's identity as refugees. The levels of Orwell here are just mind-blowing. The aid agency that's caring for them is making them refugees, not the country that displaced them from their homes.
Yeah,
You're not making them. You didn't make them a refugee.
This article was like written by the Zionist Thomas Sowell, like like an Israeli Milton Friedman wrote this article.
I mean, look, I would say, especially that's part of what I found noteworthy. This is a Wall Street Journal article. It's really not sympathetic to their point of view. Like it's presenting it. This is their point of view. It's not supporting it, and their point of view is, as you would expect, it's just absolutely deranged. It's just sick. We're going to be covering a video tomorrow on Jimmy's of Israeli women talking about their thoughts on Palestinians. It is just a sick people. The number of displaced people and their descendants living on the small plots of land housing UNRWA's 19 camps in the West Bank has ballooned. Poorly constructed concrete buildings have replaced the original tents the refugees lived in, as a political solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has remained elusive. Quote, if UNRWA is forced to stop work, no one will be able to take over our services, said Dr. Haytham Abu Aita, head of the agency's Balata Health Center, the largest it runs in the West Bank. Quote, the Palestinian Authority doesn't have the resources, and other UN agencies don't have the know-how or history running health clinics the way we do. The UN warns that if UNRWA can't operate in the occupied Palestinian territories, the responsibility under international law to provide services to Palestinian refugees would lie with Israel as the occupying power. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. Have they cared about any other UN resolutions thus far? They're not going to care. This is the plan. They want to exterminate these people. And even as the UN decries their brutality, did they care when they were told they had to let food trucks in? That they couldn't starve these people as a weapon of war? They're not going to care. They're not going to take up that responsibility. They're literally going to allow these people to die for lack of medical treatment and food.
Yeah, it's a miracle, actually, that UNRWA has lasted as long as it has. But, now we're talking about potentially just having it completely banned and disbanded and folded by the end of the month. And, horribly and tragically, obviously, as the situation in Gaza, just the day-to-day struggle to stay alive in Gaza becomes harder and harder, these timelines become shorter and shorter because there's just less that the population has to cling to, has to survive on, right? And again, look, I hate to keep bringing this up. In a way, I hate to keep bringing this up. In a way, I don't. I mean, I think it's relevant. Changing of the guards here coming up, we said all along that the difference between a President Trump and a President Biden or a President Harris was going to be the timeline. How fast does this happen? You know, the Democratic Party, because of its orientation, feels some need to trick people into thinking that they care how long UNRWA lasts.
Right.
Donald Trump feels no such need, and he's taking over in a couple of weeks. So
we cut off funds to UNRWA under Biden.
Well, of course, yeah. Of course. They had this problem. They were, I remember in April of last year, they didn't know if they were going to get through the end of the month. It's been a month-to-month ongoing crisis for UNRWA to keep its operations running for the past year. This isn't really new. What has changed is the reality in Gaza. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, which means that it becomes more and more dire. And now that you have this changing of the guards, you could have, I hate to put it this way, but it really is. There's just could potentially be a different pace to this whole thing, and it could be worse. That's not sugarcoat. That's just saying it for what it is, right? Worse in that way. Is it morally worse to draw this out for 2 or 3 years, or to get it done all at once? That's not for me to say. I think that I think you're about to see something really heinous in a couple of weeks.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And for those of us who have tried to elevate this story and draw focus on it, there's always been a feeling of helplessness around it. There's really nothing apparent that we can do other than to continue to set our minds on undermining the Israeli state through economic consequences.
Right.
Other than that, boycotts. I think there should be consequences to any company, bank doing business with Israel. Israel tourism it's already destroyed. It needs to stay that way. I've been saying for a while that I don't think Israel is going to be able to continue to function as a state in a true sense after this, because it doesn't have a population that's going to be willing to live in economically and technologically and culturally deprived conditions. And in the end, they get money from the United States for weapons. You can't make up for nobody wants to go as a tourist to Israel. You can't make up with American money for nobody will buy products that they know are from Israel. In the end, I don't think they can really recover from this. And anyone who can leave will leave. In the end, they're not going to live in a totally economically decimated Israel.
Yep, and you're already starting to see some of the economic consequences, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. Sparky, thanks for the $10. People should always remember that George Soros has done his evil deeds on behalf of the CIA, since he helped them set up NGOs in Eastern Europe to foment discord during the Cold War. Thank you, Sparky. Infrarouge says, y'all missed how Jose Andres, who accepted that dirty medal from Biden, is directly linked to the State Department and likely Mossad as well. The Gray Zone covered it this year after the events in Gaza. I remember them doing some piece on him, but I thought it was older than that. Maybe, unless there's some more recent one that I missed. But thank you for that. Amadeus, thank you for the $2. They can wear them at the block. DC, the true revolutionaries die young. R.I.P. Phil Oakes. That's right, Phil Oakes. Peter version 1, thanks for the $4.99. Aaron Buzzsaw Mate and Mad Max Blumenthal are a pro wrestling tag team when it comes to news. You two, ECW, you bring chairs to use in interviews. Thank you. Appreciate that. Amadeus, thanks for the $2. Libs and cons are pure evil. Try to change my mind. Thank you for that. Keaton, people can't fathom just how murderous the Assad regime was. It had to go, period. Russ, no, I'm not the same guy who sent you that message. What? No. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I mentioned somebody sent me that email.
Oh, okay. So you're not the same person.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. Oh, contemplatively. Okay, you're the one who sent us the big super chat. Okay, sorry, I didn't realize it was the same person. Thank you for that. Okay. Okay, because we did get an email about that as well. A fairly lengthy one. Star and Crest, thanks to the $4.99. What's some possible good outcomes of this Trump presidency? I mean, I think the best outcome. I think the best outcome is sort of an indirect outcome, which is that, given the implosion of the Democrats and the ascension of Trump, 2.0, it's going to create a big open space to form a more formidable and more meaningful, more substantive resistance, not just a resistance to Trump, but as a political vehicle moving forward. That's what I see as the opportunity.
Yeah. MAGA's about to get red pilled for real.
Yeah, they're already starting. I mean, that has happened ahead of schedule. So that is one good outcome. Sorry about Mum Kenman. Yes, thank you, Gareth, for that. Those well wishes. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Virtuoso says this is an episode extremist home makeover edition. Thank you, Virtuoso. Appreciate that. Good one. Furrow Squeen says this dude's home is as chaotic as my bedroom. I feel placated that someone else's living space is as fucked up as mine. The rest of the house is pristine, but my bedroom is my project 2025 to tidy. There you go. Thank you, Furrow Squeen. Soccer Papa says, FYI, no Muslim leaves the Quran open. They always close it after reading. You find open Qurans in museums, but never at home. Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting note as well. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. El Casador says, just curious, does the Super Chats and Give, Send, Go contributions go to your special projects, or are they kept separate? Which one pays for Russell's blackout escapades with lady friends? Well, that would be the Super Chats. Yes, the Super Chats go towards salary. The Give, Send, Go goes towards the special project. So speaking of that, if you would like to contribute to our Project 2025.
That's a segue, baby.
Yes. If you would like to contribute to our Project 2025, you can go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents. We got to get to $10,000 to make all of our 2025 dreams come true. Inauguration coverage, workers strike back coverage in Seattle, and our big project of the year, a documentary on the Uhuru movement, which will require a week-long shoot in St. Louis for both of us, plus, all the costs of cameras and mics and stuff like that. So that's what you can contribute to. givesendgo.com/do dissidents. That funds, the Give, Send, Go, does not go towards paying Russell or myself. We do not take salary or pay ourselves for the time for any of those extra special projects. We do not pay ourselves for that time, which means all of that money goes directly towards and only towards funding those special projects. So givesendgo.com/do dissidents is where you go to put some money in the hat for those special projects. So thank you so much for that. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? Wasim Garani, thanks for the $20. Appreciate it. Under the religion, Quran is not supposed to be left open unless it is to be read. Also, it looks like Arabic writing on the Quran is taped to the book if you take another look with English writing in the background. Interesting. Thank you, Wasim. Amadeus, thanks for the $5. When an empire treats all as expendable, they run out of competent people in a hurry. That's what we're seeing. Thank you, Amadeus. Anyone dumb enough... Sorry, lost you that one. Anyone dumb enough to be cannon fodder for the rich are probably easy to brainwash. Thank you, Amadeus. Did you guys cover the Sean Ryan psyop? Who's the Sean Ryan?
That's the guy. We're going to cover that tomorrow. That's the guy who was on Rogan a couple of months ago, who's trying to talk about Iranians. That's the one Malcolm sent over from.
Okay.
And
is that the one that
Whitney also sent out something about that?
Got it. All right. So yeah, we're covering that tomorrow then, Eric,
we will
when we host the Jimmy Dore show.
We're still getting up to speed, as you can tell.
Got it. Eric Torres, they thought their Israeli shit would work on us. Thank you. Sparky, thanks for the $5. Keep in mind, Israel has killed many more Americans than Iran. Remember the USS Liberty. Sparky says, remember, next time you hang out with Putin, tell him to make part of the upcoming defense pact with Iran, a Russian naval base on the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, we will pass the word along. Sparky, play Miles Davis. Play Miles Davis. We don't have Miles Davis ready to play here. Maybe we'll make a Miles Davis intermission for the next Q&A for you, Sparky. How's that? All righty. Dino M. Thanks for the $5. Can you boys do anything to postpone World War III till after February 1st? I've got a South Pacific cruise on a Yankee boat to enjoy, asking as a proud patron. Well, we're doing our best. That's part of why we do the show, to prevent World War III. We are doing the best we can. All right, folks, we have one more segment on the evening, and then we are going to Rumble for the Q&A. This is another hard one to take here. The United Nations recently put out a report on Gaza's deteriorating healthcare system. Israel attacks push Gaza healthcare to brink of collapse. So this is a new UN report. You can go and download the PDF of the report on the website. This is the summary of it that they printed in association with the file itself. A report published by the Office documents attacks carried out between October 12th, 2023 and June 30th, 2024. So we covered a UN report back in October, which covered events from last October through April. This one covers events from October 23 to June of last year. Unfortunately, the most current reports deal with data that expires 6 months prior, but this still gives you I won't even say a great idea, but it gives you a clear idea of the dire state of the healthcare system in Gaza now. So the report raises serious concerns about Israel's compliance with international law. Medical personnel and hospitals are specifically protected under international humanitarian law, provided they do not commit or are not used to commit outside their humanitarian function acts harmful to the enemy. Quote, as if the relentless bombing and the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza were not enough, the one sanctuary where Palestinians should have felt safe, in fact, became a death trap, said UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk. The protection of hospitals during warfare is paramount and must be respected by all sides at all times. The study has been released just days after the last functioning major healthcare facility in northern Gaza, Kama Adwan Hospital, was taken out of service after a raid by Israeli military forces, leaving the population of North Gaza with almost no access to adequate health care. Staff and patients were forced to flee or were taken into custody, with many reports of torture and ill treatment. The director of the hospital was taken into custody, and his fate and whereabouts are unknown. During the period covered by the report, there were at least 136 strikes on at least 27 hospitals and 12 other medical facilities, claiming significant casualties amongst doctors, nurses, medics, and other civilians, and causing significant damage, if not complete destruction of civilian infrastructure. Don't forget, this reporting concluded in June of last year, so this is not even a thorough picture up through now. Okay, but even through June, 136 strikes on 27 hospitals, at least. The report explains that in the exceptional circumstances when medical personnel, ambulances, and hospitals lose their special protection because they fulfill the strict criteria to be considered military objectives, any attack on them must still comply with the fundamental principles of distinction, proportionality, and precautions in attack. Failure to respect any of these principles constitutes a breach of international humanitarian law. Intentionally directing attacks against hospitals and places where the sick and wounded are treated, provided they are not military objectives, intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population as such, or against individual civilians not taking direct part in hostilities, including the launching of an indiscriminate attack resulting in death or injury to civilians, and intentionally launching disproportionate attacks are also war crimes, the report adds. Under certain circumstances, the deliberate destruction of healthcare facilities may amount to a form of collective punishment, which would also constitute a war crime. The report also notes that several of these acts, if committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against a civilian population, further to a state or, in case of non-state actor, organizational policy, may also amount to crimes against humanity. In most instances, Israel alleges that the hospitals were being improperly used for military purposes by Palestinian armed groups, the report states. However, insufficient information has so far been made available to substantiate these allegations, which have remained vague and broad, and in some cases appear contradicted by publicly available information. So what we're reading now is a summary of the report. So when they say that these allegations have gone unproven, they mean up through now, because we're reading a summary of the document. Okay. Women, especially pregnant women, have suffered gravely. Many women have given birth with no or minimal pre- and postnatal care, increasing the risk of preventable maternal and child mortality. The UN Human Rights Office received reports that newborns had died because their mothers were unable to attend postnatal checkups or reach medical facilities to give birth. The increasingly limited healthcare system prevented many of those who had sustained trauma injuries from receiving timely and possibly life-saving treatment. By the end of April 2024, according to the Ministry of Health of the State of Palestine, 77,704 Palestinians were injured. Many injured reportedly died while waiting to be hospitalized or treated. According to the Palestinian MOH, by the end of June 2024, more than 500 medical professionals had been killed in Gaza since October 7th. The Israeli military's first major operation against the hospital involved Al-Shifa Medical Complex in November 2023. We all remember this one. This was a shock at the time that they would lay siege upon a hospital. Right. I remember going to a march here in Troy, New York, very close to where I live, where a guy had family members living in that hospital since they had been injured in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. It raided the facility a second time in March 2024, leaving it in complete ruin by April 1st. Subsequent to the withdrawal by the Israeli military, 3 mass graves were reportedly found at the hospital, with at least 80 corpses retrieved, raising serious concerns that the crimes under international law may have been committed. Some of these bodies were reportedly found with catheters and cannulas still attached, I hope I'm saying that right, suggesting they had been patients. Imagine that. All right, so this is a video from the Palestinian ambassador at the UN because they recently discussed this report at the United Nations in New York City. And he quotes, "Whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us." So this is Riyad Mansour tearfully quoting Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nuhaila, shared the words the doctor wrote on a whiteboard at Al-Auda Hospital months before he was killed in an Israeli strike. "We owe them more than remembrance," Mansour said. So, like I said, this was at a UN Council to discuss this most recent report, which we just read the summary of.
Whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us. Remember us. We owe them more than remembrance. Mr. President, the image of Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya wearing his white gown medical overcoat, symbol of hope and humanity, summoned and walking towards Israeli tanks, embodying death and destruction, will remain forever a reflection of what is at stake in Gaza. humanity itself. It will show a people standing up against all odds in the face of terrible suffering, trauma, and death. And it will show how lonely they were in that moment. Palestinian doctors and medical personnel are fighting to save human lives and losing their own. They are fighting a battle they cannot win, and yet they are unwilling to surrender and to betray the oath they took. They are trying to save lives while hospitals are under attack, while medical personnel are, together with their patients and people seeking shelter, besieged and killed, while buildings and works, even for mothers and newborn babies, are being destroyed, while access to medicine is being denied, while electricity is cut, while starvation is imposed, and while they know that the people they are trying to heal will most probably die, and that they, the doctors, will be held responsible by Israel for the ultimate crime of trying to preserve life in Gaza, and will be detained, tortured, and even killed. And yet, they continue trying. Dr. Mahmoud Abu Nujila, who was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Al-Auda Hospital, wrote a message many months ago on a whiteboard in the hospital normally used for planning surgeries. And I quote him, whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us.
So, I mean, that's obviously just gutting. And, you know, I want you to imagine reading that at the United Nations in New York City, in the capital of the empire, which is functionally what New York City is. Washington is the capital. New York is the capital of the Western world in many ways. Likely with the Israeli ambassador in the room. Imagine being in the same room as the Israeli ambassador. Imagine being in the same room as Linda Thomas Greenfield, soon to be Elise Stefanik, reading that. Imagine having to read that with the enemy breathing in your face. That's what he has to go through to read a thing like that. Imagine how unwelcome you must feel to be sitting in a room with the people who are just watching you, as has happened so many times. We've seen these council meetings go on and on. The United Nations has put out report after report like this. We see this witness being born over and over and over again, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. Imagine being in that guy's shoes, having to read that in that environment.
Well, this is really just taking the mask off of Western pretenses at having put this behind us. Yeah, we don't, God, that was terrible, that colonial period. We don't do things like that anymore. We've evolved beyond that. It's just, this is about as horrific as any crime committed by colonial powers that you can think of. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really demonstrates. And yeah, we talked about this from October 7th. That was the first article I wrote, that a big part of why they got such backlash from students is that they had reared this entire generation on Frantz Fanon and Edward Said and all of this post-colonial theory and studies, and all the premise of all that is to look at the horrible things we did in the past. And that's all grounded in the assumption that we would never do something like that now. And what's left to us to do now is only to dismantle the structures of systemic racism and cultural colonization that have resulted from those crimes we committed in the past. And then this crime of incredible magnitude and of very much the same character that they've been taught was just terrible. We have to do everything we can to fix the damage that was done by these times. It breaks out in the same exact professors, same exact institutions, the same exact politicians that fed them all this say, no. If you don't support this, you're anti-Semitic.
Right.
To see this man broken, I mean, God, what he's witnessed, what he's seen, sitting in the middle of the United Nations, which in many ways is supposed to represent, particularly for Western powers, our evolution beyond those horrible colonial tendencies. It just shows you we haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone anywhere. And that was always the point of teaching them post-colonial theory. It was to make them think that we're post. That was the point.
Exactly. So before we wrap the segment, I want to share this video here. Our friend Jose Vega posted this. He's been featured on several of the Zoom calls and broadcasts of this group called Doctors Against Genocide, which I encourage you guys to follow, not just here on YouTube, but on X as well. Dr. Mimi Said, a doctor who just returned from Gaza, shared her experience of what the conditions are like in Gaza and what she experienced being there. So this is about 3 minutes. This is a doctor who just returned from the Gaza Strip.
And gentlemen, I'm Dr. Mimi Syed, board-certified emergency medicine physician. I was born, raised, and trained in the U.S. I was in Gaza on a medical mission twice, once in August and once in December. I just returned last night to the U.S. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I stand before you not just as a medical professional, but as a deeply concerned human being who has witnessed the harsh realities in Gaza. Over the course of 2 medical missions, I have encountered unimaginable suffering and devastation, particularly among the most innocent children. As a mother of 3 children, I cannot imagine how any parent can look away. Despite my prolonged period in Gaza in August, and again more recently in December, I did not encounter any military operations or combatants. Instead, what I encountered were countless civilians, men, women, and children suffering from injuries that no human should ever have to endure. I resuscitated a little girl named Mira, no older than 4 years old, who was shot in the head by a drone sniper while eating breakfast in her tent. I also treated a 9-year-old named Ayla, who came to us with an open skull wound with her brain matter exposed, hanging on to dear life because of a shrapnel injury. Each case echoed a haunting narrative of loss, pain, and unfulfilled lives. These are just 2 examples of the dozens and dozens that I saw in my time there. Time and again, I found myself amid scenes of chaos and despair. We faced multiple mass casualty incidents, each more heart-wrenching than the last. The resources available for treating the wounded were grossly inadequate, creating an excruciating reality where patients succumbed to their injuries before we could provide them with the care that they desperately needed. The aftermath of these assaults leaves scars that extend beyond physical injuries. There are dire issues of malnutrition, dismal living conditions, water contamination, and no sewage system. While I was there, 6 newborn babies died in their tents due to hypothermia. I met a newborn who almost died of dehydration because she was being fed sugar water. Her mother could not afford formula or produce breast milk due to malnutrition. The statistics speak for themselves. Almost 1,000 babies born in Gaza this past year have died before their first birthday. An average of 1 to 3 children are dying daily because of malnourishment, according to the Human Rights Watch. 3,000 children have lost their limbs, according to WHO. This is a direct insult to the birth rate of the Gazan people, and it must stop immediately. Reflecting on these experiences, I am reminded of the values that shaped my early life. I was raised by immigrant parents who embodied the American dream. Their hard work and perseverance led to a life filled with hope and opportunities. They believed in the principles of compassion, dignity, and justice. Standing in Gaza, however, those values felt increasingly distant. I could not reconcile what I saw with what I believe our country represented.
So that's a piece of that video. I encourage you guys to follow Doctors Against Genocide on X here and on YouTube. I mean, the courage it takes to go there at this time. She just got back. She just got back last night as of that posting, which was, I think, a few nights ago.
You're dealing with essentially Nazis.
Right.
They'll kill you, knowing you're a doctor, knowing you're a journalist.
500 medical personnel killed as of June of last year. We know that number has gone way up. Yep.
Yeah, just absolutely horrible. And this is why, as we'll see when we get to the meme of the week, this is why I just have absolutely no patience or tolerance for anyone who tries to both sides this, or say, war is hell, these things happen in war. I have no patience for it. And those people are out there. Those people are out there. And, as Trump comes to power and he owns this genocide, I will be very interested to see what all the people who said wrongly that he's playing 4D chess and he's gonna, I want to see what they have to say when he owns this. They're gonna say what they said when Biden did. Some of them, and that's our opportunity.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're going to take some super chats, then we'll end with our meme of the week, and then we'll go to the Q&A. So, folks, dudissidents.com/Rumble. Thanks to Jake for setting that hyperlink up. That takes you to the Rumble stream. So if you would like to watch the Q&A, you can do that in just a few minutes. Philip Blair, the population of Beverly Hills, California is a bit over 30,000 people. There you go. The amazing Blumpkin, thanks for the $5. Gottlieb in the West communications were found at UCLA. Thank you, the amazing Blumpkin. C. Cody 117. What's that?
He's talking about from Chaos.
Oh yeah. About the book. Is there any way to convince people who think it's best for the U.S. to be in charge of the world that a multipolar world might be better? What's your take? Well, I mean, I don't understand how you could think that a world led by a power like China wouldn't be a more peaceful world than this one. I mean, I just don't understand. Like, to be honestly, is there any way to convince people of that? I don't know. I mean, I suspect, I don't know who could not be convinced of that already. Like, I think you just have to start there. You have to start there. So do you really think China, or even Russia for that matter, is more warlike than we are? Like, I mean, I suspect that talking through that with even the most chauvinistic and jingoistic of, quote unquote patriots, I suspect most of them would probably just have the hunch that no, they would not be as warlike as we are now. That's my guess.
I think your best points are lay out the numbers. How many people have been victims of our military actions post-World War II, as opposed to Russia, as opposed to China. And when we did our Palantir segment, we showed the military bases.
Right.
That Russia has like 29 outside of its territory. Right. I think China has like 3 outside of its territory. We have like 185.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of tells the story, doesn't it?
Yep. Not even close. What Dots? Thanks for the $2. Appreciate that. Blarg, your work is invaluable. Much love, Keaton and Russ. Free Palestine. I appreciate you very much. We appreciate you. Thanks for being a member. Appreciate that. Peter version 1 says Weiss next Halloween be Alec Baldwin and Beetlejuice. Yeah, people think I look like Alec Baldwin and Beetlejuice when I wear the plaid shirts. That's a common note that I get. Thank you for that. Miserable Lib, Texas, watching the elites celebrate themselves when USA is the primary supporter of a genocide. Homeless rate is up. Wealth inequality is at its greatest. Makes the Gilded Age look like the good old days. Thank you, Miserable Lib. Appreciate that. Syrian expats are just like the Cuban and Venezuelan expats. They want their government and country dismantled, even if they hand it to Al-Qaeda and the CIA. Well, he said he was not. I mean, if I'm assuming that's in response to our previous super chatter. He said he was Palestinian and not Syrian. Switch Thinker here looked up Matata, old school funk with strong African drums.
No, that's not what it is.
And Keaton, love you, but your show has a music vibe, and it's Russell also metal, not Jimmy style jazz. Man, thank you.
We forgot to hit the 666, man.
Oh yeah, look at that. We got that. 11:32. Well past that. Beautiful.
Yeah, so Matala
that's in Greece,
is a place on the southern coast of Crete. That is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever go. If you ever get a chance to go there, definitely something to experience.
Philip Blair, thanks for the $5. He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression, for it violates this. Thomas Paine, 1795. French Revolution was 1789. SB says, don't let anti-Assad hacks shame you. Nobody's shaming us. The Justice Minister just ended 2 women for prostitution, but it's okay because it's not Assad, Iran, or Russia. Yeah, I didn't take that comment as a black and white endorsement.
That's not. And you know what? What you have in there now is awesome.
Right, exactly. I think that's all he was saying.
It's just, look, honestly, because you hit a lot of autism when you get into this kind of shit. I pretty much stopped doing it. 2 things can be bad at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That is possible.
Right? Yeah. Yep. Not hard to think up. All right, so folks, we do have our meme of the week before we close out the show. This is Russell's meme of the week.
Yeah, this one got me in a lot of trouble. That's what made it the meme of the week. Okay, so this creator, some of you in the chat will probably know their name. There is a name to this creator. If you see the little logo under Zionism is an anti-Semitic death cult, that's a creator who does very, very good work. And yeah, this one actually got 2 of the 3 most lunatic people on my Facebook to unfriend me finally after years. So that's how you know it's a good meme.
Yeah.
The Zionists who were hate watching my page left. They left. So that is just great. It's based on a children's book. I think it's called What Israel Means to Me. That's the cover. And Where are the Nazis Now? Israelis' Inevitable Journey to Fascism and Self-Destruction. Zionism is an anti-Semitic death cult. This is just great. So if you can find it, it's on my X actually. If you go to my X account, if you want to share that, you can share it around.
All right, folks. Well, that is our show. We are going to head over to Rumble, dudissidents.com/Rumble to continue the festivities with our post-show Q&A. So all are welcome to join. Go to dudissidents.com/Rumble to head over there. We want to thank you all very much for being here with us tonight. We will see you back here on this channel Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow 6 p.m. Eastern, co-hosting the Jimmy Dore Show. Looks like you got one more Rumble rant in before the buzzer from Monkey Rotary. He says, here's some money for Jew guys. Thank you. I don't know if Jake saw that one yet. Probably didn't appear on his app yet, but that's a $50 donation. So let's have a cowbell for Monkey Rotary over there. Thank you for getting that in. The old buzzer beater Rumble rant. Appreciate that very much. Thanks, Jake, for being in the booth tonight. Round of applause for Jake in the chat, please, and thank you very much. We will see you guys back here on the main channel Tuesday at 2 p.m. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific for the Jimmy Dore Show. Until then, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. There will be a 5-minute intermission before the Q&A over on Rumble. Paid members, phone lines are open. You can call up and get in line right now. We'll see you guys in 5 minutes on the other side. Until then, thanks everybody for being here with us tonight. Pleasure to see you as always. Be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.